Doc Rock, Director of Strategic Partnerships at our show's sponsor, Ecamm Live, and co-host of The Flow, which is a video podcast focused on podcasting trends, strategies, creator workflows, etc. with Katie Fox. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is fun. I'm ready. I'm dialed in. Let's go. I'll be yelling at the TV when you guys are normally going, so I get to do it here.
Well, we hear you in the chat too. I love that. It's my favorite thing. I mean, the other thing about it is that we're excited to have you, right? You got quite the background. I think, one thing that you've done recently that piqued my interest is that you told me the other day that you did daily video upload marathon for 419 days, not 420. Yeah. Tell us more about that.
Well, the funny thing is, it was supposed to be a 30-day challenge. And the reason for it is I go live twice a week, every week for going on 7 years. And at one point I was doing my 2 lives a week and doing my regular upload, but I started to slack on my regular upload. And I was like, I'm over here trying to teach people about, YouTube and do things like that, but I keep skipping my upload. And I was like, well, I mean, I made content because I was making, reels and shorts, and I'm making my live streams. And then I was like, okay, I was really getting tired of people talking about being burnt out. Because I am medically trained. I was a paramedic in the Army. I do know what, actual burnout looks like, but the creator burnout word got super, super popular. And I hate when words just get co-opted and people don't really know what they mean. And they like just throwing it around because it's fashionable. And, the big ones were creator burnout, imposter syndrome, introvert. The other one that totally crushes my soul is, this whole process about like having ADHD or OCD and you're like undiagnosed. I'm like, maybe you should stop saying that, because for the people that have real OCD, like it has a hard time leaving the house when they got to touch the knob 40 times. That's debilitating. But just saying because you like a neat desk, no, that's not cool, bro. That's really not cool to use that when there's people who really actually suffer, right? And so I'm like, I get it. What happens is you got disconnected from your mission, and now you're creating, like Benji, he's the brand deal king. What if you got wrapped in the middle of a brand deal and you realize you don't like the brand, but I already made the deal, and so now I got to make these videos. That's when your soul is crushed. He's like, I got to do cauliflower crust pizza. Yo, my Benji dough is off the chain. Cauliflower crust though? I don't know, fam, but he already made the deal. So now he's sitting here making, not that you would do this for real. This is hypothetically. Can you see Benji making cauliflower crust pizza every day for like 3 weeks?
He wouldn't get the leoparding.
After he took the check, it's going to hurt his soul. Like I could just see it. Look, his skin's peeling now thinking about it.
I know, man. I can't even imagine. Oh, I remember eating cauliflower when that was in fashion. Like it was a trend almost
it was
15 years ago.
Yeah.
I think you see it at Costco once in a while. But the whole idea of people overusing burnout is absolutely true. And, respect to you and your service to our country. Thank you. I know other Army soldiers who are also medics. And of course, you guys would see what real burnout is. I think that creators use the word burnout because they know how people react to it or how they will be treated or not like treated, right? Like they'll be left alone if they use the word burnout versus really diagnosing the issue or the challenge correctly. And so for me personally, when somebody says they're burnt out, it's a discussion I have with them about like what's really going on. Okay. And I love that you brought up the idea of a brand deal making you burnt out, because another thing that's actually happening is not true burnout, is that they aren't doing what they love doing anymore. Or in this brand deal, they're being forced to do something that's not what they signed up for. By the way, on the whole like idea of doing the wrong things or doing the things that are opposite of what you want to do, that starts from the contract. And when you're negotiating, make sure that all the terms are either fair or in your favor. and they should be as a creator, because ultimately you're the creative, you know how to create content that people will watch and engage in, and the brands almost never know that, but they will almost force their way in, and they'll force the ideas, and these are the things that can make you feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then that leads to creators saying, I feel burnt out, when really, I mean, the way I know that you're bringing up, Doc, which is, I mean, true burnout is where your body's shutting down or your mind is shutting down.
100%. And so that thing was, okay, I'm going to just go to, because what happens when people hear the quote unquote big creators or the medium creators, and again, I hate using these metrics, but when people use that terminology, then the people who are just starting out will be saying things to me like, well, I want to do this, this, and this, but I don't want to get burnt out. And I'm a drill sergeant when it comes to training. I'm like, fam, you ain't made but 6 videos. You don't have enough vowels to spell burnout. You got to go harder, and they're making people scared of something before it happened. And so I wanted to prove that with a busy schedule, including travel, I could make a video long form, nothing shorter than 10 minutes, every single day for 30 days straight, and I won't even sweat it. When I got done, my community was like, yeah, okay, Pimp, that was way too easy for you because you have some special skill. And I was like, no, that's not the point. So I had to keep going. And then I get to 60 and they're like, nope, not enough. I'm like, listen, kids, come on. I mean, they're adults, but I just teasing them. And they're like, no, that's still too easy for you. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's not me. I am not special. I am not a superhuman. I'm cute, but that's it. It really is. I know my purpose. I know my mission. I know my value. And I want to feed you guys with as much value as I possibly have. And having gone through, almost leaving this mortal coil, I'm like, I'm not leaving until I finish my mission. So I completely readjusted and I went back in. And so I wanted to show 2 things: that burnout is not real if you're on purpose, if you're on mission. And also one that really soils my skivvies is, work-life balance. I'm like, bro, you got one life. It's not really about work-life balance. You have one life. And you just pick the times when you're working, and you pick the times when you're familying, and so again, Benji, you're a great example. Someone who would arguably have what's considered a large family, and you still find time to do way more videos than people making excuses. They got no kids. And I'm like, he put out more videos this week than I did. I got not a kid.
Yeah, today I
got
record
42 of them.
I just to give you guys context, today I recorded a podcast for my friend who has a real estate YouTube channel, and we do that religiously once a week. As long as we're both in town, and we've been doing that for 3 years. I did a live stream. I don't know if you caught it today. I use Ecamm Live, by the way, you guys, to live stream not only to my YouTube channel, but also the YouTube Shorts feed and Instagram vertically. By the way, it also broadcasts me horizontally to Instagram if you're watching it on desktop, which is kind of mind-blowing. I didn't know that was a thing. And it was to my Facebook page. And now I'm doing this show for you guys, the Creator Secrets podcast. And I don't know where we're going after this, but there's 2 things I would say, because my wife and I, we've been blessed to never have been burnt out ever. And we've been through some seasons, okay? Ups and downs. After 18 years, there's going to be challenges. And there's 2 things. Number 1, do what you love on YouTube, whatever that is. So that's whatever I always say, like, is fun for you, you look forward to doing on the weekends, or cranks your wheel, as Jordan Peterson would say. And secondly, protect your integrity, your values, and what you believe in. And this goes back to brand deals. Don't sign up for things that you don't really want to do because you want to get paid. Mm-hmm. That was our philosophy from the very beginning before I got into this for 18 years. So we're talking on year 2, year 3, we made some mistakes with brand deals and weren't doing the things that we felt like would be best for ourselves, right? Let alone our audience. And so like forever, we're like, hey, no matter how much they pay us, no matter what they say they're going to do for us or how good we think it might be for the business, if it doesn't feel right, we're not going to do it. And that starts literally at the contract, the terms, the deliverables, everything. And I've literally had brands who are offering 6-figure brand deals like basically gasp when I say no because of this. And I believe that's what's let my wife and I, for 7 years, we were doing 7 vlogs a week. Okay. This is while having babies. We had not only our first child during this season, we had twins 2 years later. And after that, we just scaled down 6 days a week, 5 days a week. Now we're down to like 3 to 4 days a week. That's in addition to all the other things I've done. So I actually don't even think it's a superpower as much as it is a super limitation on allowing other people to dictate what we're going to do or sign up to do things that we don't feel like we would do. That's sustainable for us.
Yeah. And, you know, I think one of the big things for me, Doc, and in terms of having you on the show is just the deep alignment there that you guys are both talking about. The consistency that came from your 420 days of posting. Benji has that experience that we're going to circle back to later in the show. The heart that Benji was just bringing up about how you align your purpose with what it is that you're doing, how you're expressing that in the work that you do, and the self-knowledge to know where to begin with both of those things, which we're about to circle back to in just a second. But to get there, there's one other thing that I think that you're aligned with, at least me on, which is that you're raised by Koreans. Now, I promise you, this is not 100% out of left field, even though it feels like it. But I want to tell you both a story really quick because it relates to something big that's happening right now and something, Doc, that you told me that you were nerding out about the other day. So my dad was born in South Korea and moved with his family into America and eventually all the way up to Alaska, where he picked up hockey when he was a kid. And so he played hockey all of his youth and obviously gained a huge love for the sport over that period of time, being around the kind of like probably most likely place in the United States to get obsessed with hockey, which is like basically, you know, as close to Canada as you can get. And of course, he passed that on to me. And so I started rollerblading when I was 3 years old. I started youth hockey when I was 5. I played all the way through high school. And as I was playing throughout all of my youth, he also coached me. And one key component of all of that coaching and that education and my player education was an organization called USA Hockey. Now, USA Hockey is also responsible for managing, of course, Team USA, the hockey team. And of course, for those of you who are not following the Winter Olympics, America in general did better than ever before in terms of our medal count, in terms of the way we performed during the Winter Olympics. And I think that's exemplified by the men's and women's hockey teams, because I personally believe, obviously I'm biased here, that hockey is the greatest sport, especially the greatest team sport on earth. And to have both of our teams come out on top with the gold is something that I don't think has ever been done before, first of all, but also even beyond that is just flat out impressive. So I wanted you guys to nerd out about that for a second, because to me, it was something that Benji and I got to nerd out about in terms of the passion, in terms of the consistency, in terms of the practice, in terms of doing the thing that you love. But then we're going to talk a little bit more about 2 other angles on the Olympics that are related to creators as well.
It's funny. I talked about creators in the Olympics again this morning because, you know, hockey is going to be the big one. And then I would say figure skate and some of the ski events, the traditional ski events, are going to always be the big ones when it comes to Winter Olympics. But I once coached a guy, you know, he was starting a YouTube channel back in the day, doing a podcast, and his name was Kyle. And Kyle was a USA skeleton Olympian. And when he said, "Do you know what skeleton is?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, how do you know?" I was like, "Well, I'm from the Upper East Coast, and like, you know, I watch Olympics. I just like sports in general, because something about sports or athletes in general, you know, being ex-military, I understand the work and the dedication and stuff that it takes in order to be a elite soldier or elite athlete. And there is a level of, like you say, consistency, doing the things that are repetitious, right?
Yeah.
People who are in the chat or who are watching this, who are musicians, they still do scales. No matter what your skill level is, you're still doing scales, right? If you play, you know, guitar like Phineas, he still does scales because that's the only way to stay good. And I think when it comes to content creators, that sometimes people get to a certain level and they think that they're beyond certain things. But the best in the game, and I say this, you know, trust you me, that Steph Curry today somewhere shooting threes because he's like, I got to keep my rhythm together so we don't get spanked by the Celtics again. But but it's just one of those things. Like these guys, they practice. Tiger Woods hits golf balls. He's retired basically. He still hit golf balls today. I put money on it.
Yeah, Benji, I mean, you were nerding out about it with me the other day before when we met. I mean, I know you're proud to see him win, but tell me more about what your thoughts were when you saw that moment, and if there is any relation to creators.
In terms of USA hockey winning against Canada, which was like one of the greatest sports moments I think I've ever experienced personally on so many different levels, and I'm glad I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch it. But you know what Doc was saying is somewhere on the planet, there's this amazing athlete practicing the most basic things, right? Free throws. If you're a basketball player, if you're a golfer, you're out there doing putts, right? Or driving at a driving range. And I think what I think about in terms of USA hockey team is you're doing those things especially when you're losing.
Yeah.
Okay. So Doc was saying, hey, even if you're on the top of your game, you're winning championships, you're doing it. But when it feels like it's hopeless, that's when you have to do it even more so, right? Just as important. So it's just a different perspective. The reason I bring it up is I also watched Team USA lose against Canada in 2010.
Yeah.
Okay. I was happy for Canada because it was during the Vancouver Olympics in Vancouver, BC. There was a lot of like fandom in that stadium for Team Canada. So great moment for the country. But it was, it's hard, right? To, have our last gold win in the Olympics as Team USA be, what at that point would have been like 30 years ago.
1980.
Yeah, 1980, Miracle on Ice. And the moment passes, and then you're talking, it's another 16 years. Basics, fundamentals, just passing the puck. The most impressive part of the whole game-winning goal for me was not him shooting the puck into the goal.
Yeah.
For me, actually, was the guy that passed it to him.
Me too.
The guy passed that puck right to his hockey stick, and no one really talks about that because it was so fast, and then he was perfectly positioned to score. Now, nothing against the actual score. That's amazing too, right? I mean, that the goalie he was going against is top in his class, and he scored the winning. They called it the golden goal. But that pass, and the reason I bring it up in the context of this, sometimes it's the most basic things that win you gold. Okay.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Actually, from a hockey perspective, right, what happened there was two really fundamental things that player did, because I agree with you 100%. He went into the zone and actually took the puck away in a battle against a Canadian player. And the first thing that he did wasn't even pass the puck. He checked the guy. He went in, put his shoulder into him, which is like one of the most fundamental hockey plays. You play for physicality and battle for position on the ice, because if you're not in the right spot, then you're not going to make the play.
Yeah.
The second thing that he did was make that beautiful pass, right? Which is only done by practicing hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of times or more. And then, of course, like you said, the other guy comes down the ice and scores. But sorry, I interrupted you. Because I agree.
So, and then I know that we were just commenting on the Olympics and the gold medal win for the Team USA hockey. But for creators, I'm telling you, it's not the fancy stuff. It's not the trendy stuff. It's not like this super secret hack, even though those all kind of play into it, like having an edge. It's really just doing it over and over and over. And then me going 2 decades later, I still think like that. I treat myself as a beginner. So right now, live streaming is a thing that I'm a beginner at. Even though I've done 24-hour live streams in the past. Yeah. But I was doing 24-hour live streams with like a team of, I'm not kidding, like 10 to 15 people, Doc, inside of my garage. When I say Team USA, I had Team YouTube fly from California to Washington, set up shop in my garage. I had my team at the time. Austin was part of this, and they're all collaborating, like putting on this crazy show. And so when I say I'm doing this new season of live streaming, it's like with a much more scaled down production. Ecamm Live. By the way, I keep bringing up Ecamm Live, but like it's a big part of it. It lets me practice the fundamentals of going live regularly. If I want to succeed at being, I joked earlier today on a test live. I said, guys, I have a big announcement to make. I'm not going to be a vlogger anymore. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a IRL streamer. And I was joking about that, but I'm serious about live streaming. I think it's the next opportunity. I think we're going to get into AI and some of the challenges that creators are facing. I believe live streaming will be one of the ways to have an edge. Funny enough, even though it seems like it's harder, it's actually not harder, especially if you're using software that makes it easy. And this is the first time you can do it and put in the reps and do it. So how I'm going to succeed at this new realm that I'm exploring is to just do it every single day if I can, or as often as I can, consistently, like I was shooting free throws, right? Like Michael Jordan probably shot a million free throws in his whole life. I don't know. It's probably
Easy.
Right?
Probably still, even now he's old or whatever, he got one in his yard. He probably still's out there and does it just because it's a mental relaxation at this point. Nothing's on the line. Hey, I wanted to point out something that I think is very important that you brought up, and I don't want it to go by slipped. I am a hardcore Japanophile. I speak Japanese, and there's a Japanese concept called shoshin. And shoshin is about your excellence through maintaining a beginner's mind. Because what happens when people get cocky because they know what they're doing or they get comfortable is you make mistakes. So I know, Benji, you've been not too long ago. When you go to the train conductor opens the window and he does something that's known as shisakanko, which is point and call. Right? So he points to the light is red. He opens the door, he looks down at the track, and he waves his hand up and down the track, both directions. He looks down the tunnel, he points to another light, a security camera, then he looks at his timetable, and he double checks it. Okay, it's 15:50. We got like 2 more minutes before we must leave the station. Then he picks up the microphone, and he says something, and he does one more thing, and he touch, closes the door, sits down, and when he sits down, before he grabs the handle to take off, he'll point to the security camera, point to the light again, point to the next timetable as to which station we're going to, say it's Shinjuku, and then he'll go ahead and then he'll start the train. Now, he in the current day, he'll make that loop, back and forth, the green loop. He'll do that loop probably 40 times in a day, but at every single stop, he does that as if you were just starting out. Touch everything, say what it is, and go through all the steps. They never get cocky, and that's how they eliminate accidents, right? And even if you're a content creator and you're like, I'm not an expert, I'm not really here to teach them, but I'm just here to have fun. If you watch Cleo Abrams, her content, she's always coming as the most curious person in the room.
Yeah.
And if you're the smartest person in the room, leave the room. That's a terrible room for you to be in. And so it's really something incredible about maintaining, no matter how long you've done this, maintaining that beginner's mind. That's what makes you good at what you do. Everyone thinks you have to be an expert, and I want to say, nay, you're best to go back to the basics and start from the beginning again and refine what it is that you loved about what you were doing.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Those fundamentals are exactly what I was talking about when it comes to hockey as well. We think the same thing when you play hockey, which is, we call it north-south, right? If Benji, you said when you're kind of actually on your back foot, it's actually maybe even a better time to get down to those fundamentals. Because in hockey, right, north-south is up and down the ice. You're going towards the net, you're going back towards your own net. You're offensive or you're defensive. That's opposed to east-west, which is you're making fancy plays left to right, all around. You're kind of doing dipsy-doodle things as if you're like a figure skater.
Dipsy-doodle?
Yeah, that's right.
Dipsy-doodle. I caught that one. I like that.
That's what they say. That's what they say. And so north-south hockey, straight ahead hockey is what we call it, because you're going in that direction. And those fundamentals, especially when you're behind, it brings you to that level of success that earns you the right to go east-west, right? When you want to have a little bit of flair, when you want to have a little bit of dipsy-doodle. And, I think that's a perfect exemplar of the sponsor of the show, which is, of course, Ecamm Live, the powerful live streaming platform for Mac, because it's all about the fundamentals, right? That's what Ecamm's all about. I mean, Doc, you taught me this. you say that live happens, which
Yes.
which means that things happen when you're trying to go live. That's the whole point of live, right? We had a whole session. I mean, hey, to reveal it before this, where we were trying to get things set up, and we were trying to make things happen beforehand because we didn't have those fundamentals down. And so the idea of having those fundamentals is what Ecamm focuses on well, and we've been using it for Benji's food streams. We've been using it for we did a multi-stream today across platforms as well, and I think that it has been one of the things that has enabled us to, those fundamentals, go live more often than we ever have before in our time doing live. Now, Benji, I want you to speak a little bit about Ecamm and that experience of those fundamentals. And then Doc, I want you to finish us off here.
Now that I have a new term that I can use, all those dipsy doodles, right? You don't want to have to think about the dipsy doodles when live streaming. And I'll tell you, I started when live streaming was it was just so difficult. 2008, 9, and 10. It was called blog TV. I mean, it was just so ghetto. Unless you're going to go the pro route and you had to know all those dipsy doodles. Fast forward, to this day, right? Past my $15,000 setup, past my 2-hour preparation and setting the lights and having the microphone and testing everything, double checking everything.
Yelling at your producer.
Yeah. I never yelled, but I definitely got stressed out. Having like 1 to 2 people in my kitchen trying to do that, going past all that to now, I just have a laptop. I have 2 DJI Osmo Pocket 3s. And I don't have to think about the dipsy doodles, the bells and whistles. Though they are accessible to me through Ecamm Live, I can just focus on what's important, which is the content. In my case, it's the cooking. So it's nuts because even my team member, Carla, says, I look more natural. I look more casual. I look more comfortable. This is after being a creator for 18 years. I still had a maybe like an anxiety about live streaming because there was just so many dipsy doodles. Let's see how many times I can use it. Dipsy doodles I was thinking about, okay? And as a creator, if you've got that in the back of your brain, it takes away from that personable self that you always are when you're just living your life.
Yeah.
I always say, like, however you talk to your best friend is how you should be on a live stream. Like, what's interesting about Doc right now, the way I talk to him on the phone, this is the way he is on a live stream. Like, he's not acting any other way. To do that, you can't be thinking about all the other settings and whatnot. And that's what Ecamm does for you. It makes it so that you can focus on what's important, what the audience cares about. In my case, it's the cooking. It's me like engaging with the community. And so that's why I love it. And hey, if you're a subscriber of my food channel, Benjamin TV, you know I have been consistently going live even before I was working with Ecamm Live because of Ecamm Live. I think we're going on 3 months now where I've hit every single Tuesday evening.
Every week. Yeah,
every
we've been
single
rocking
week.
and rolling.
Again,
Because of the fundamentals.
well, that is the fundamental of
Yeah.
consistency to get better. And it's only getting better every single week. And that's what's crazy. All those dipsy doodles now, I have the ability to explore that. So today we went live on Instagram while we were going live on YouTube. And the fact that I was horizontal live on Instagram on a desktop computer, but vertical live on the normal Instagram feed, wild. And I had, I think about like 80 like concurrent viewers on Instagram, which is pretty hot. Well, I've never really done a live there. I've had other numbers, but that was just with one session going to multiple platforms, and that's Ecamm Live.
Doc, is that one of the things that Ecamm tries to focus on, is making that possible, to simplify in that way? Or like, how does that resonate with what Ecamm thinks about when they're making the product?
Our goal is to make it as simple as possible, because one thing that can happen when it comes to live streaming in general, right, is everybody wants to get really caught up in the tech and trying to outdo each other with a whole bunch of things. But like offhandedly, if I were to ask you what is your favorite movie of all time, and I know that's a hard question, but like what would you say, either one of you guys, what's one of your favorite movies?
Forrest Gump.
White chicks.
All right.
That was neutrally.
That was neutrally. I know that was neutrally. That's a good one too, by the way. But you know, I look at, the Forrest Gump is a little too new, but you know, right before Forrest Gump time frame, because that was done on a Cine Alta, most of the movies prior to about 99 we're shadowing cameras that don't even match your iPhone right now. You know what I mean? We're talking like multi-billion-dollar entities that were shot on things way worse than your iPhone, and everybody gets so caught up in the gear. And so we just want to like let the stuff be out of the way so that you can be you. And I know we're going to come to her later, but dude, even if you swear you don't like ice skating, when you watch AL do her thing, tell me she's skating. She's not. She's having fun. She's out there straight clowning. She's proven she's from the Bay. She is beast mode on ice, just having a good time. And if you ever watch Marshawn on the sideline, losing or not, he was always, you know, just in his thing, just having a good time, right? She's having a good time. So many of my friends are from the Bay because that's Bay Area mentality. And we, no matter what, we're going to have a good time. Watching her do that, I feel that's what we want to bring out of people. Just go be yourself, go have fun, don't overthink the tech. We will take care of the tech stuff for you, and then you just go out there and present the best you that you can be. And I think that's why she was untouchable, because she wasn't worried about the medal. She just went to go have fun, and then through her having fun, she dragged all of us into it. We were all staring at her like, oh my goodness, hey, maybe I want to do my scalping stripes.
Well, if you want to have some fun, you can see how it works for yourself by starting a free trial at the link in the show notes, and you can use code BenjiTV15 for 15% off your first month. Again, you can go to the link in the show notes, start the trial, and use code BenjiTV15 for 15% off your first month. Thank you so much to Doc for being on the show, and for Ecamm Live for sponsoring the show, which of course gets us to the story of Alysa Liu. You know, one of the things that was amazing to me, Alysa, for those who, again, we're not watching the Olympics, Alysa was a American figure skater that really has a comeback story, is one way of putting it. Is that fair to say in terms of like the way you would put it? How would you describe her story, Benji? Because you were kind of talking to me about it the other day.
All right, you want me to just tell her story?
Go for it, yeah.
And what's her name, by the way?
Alysa Liu.
Alysa Liu, okay?
Technically, we should say Liu, but all of my friends who are in the camp, I have about 50 friends that are Liu, and they're like, you know what, we just accept either one at this point because I'm getting tired of trying to change.
Well, there we go, Liu then.
No, I'm all about honoring the proper pronunciation. Alysa Liu, okay? She is a Chinese American female skater. Her father escaped China during the time when there was a lot of turmoil. We'll just leave it at that. Comes to America and basically raises 5 kids, I think, on his own. I can't say for sure, but she becomes an ice skater. And she is training. He sees a talent in her, so he's paying for the best coaches, training every single day. But what happened was, and this happens with a lot of, I think, Asian kids. I feel like maybe other minorities, maybe anyone that like is trying to be a high performer, but I can speak as an Asian, like for sure, this is like an Asian parent thing. You are forcing success. Even if there's talent there, even if there's good work ethic, you're just like, you need to be perfect. You need to be even better. You need to be a champion.
I can confirm that.
So yeah, Alysa, right?
Yes.
Alysa
Yes.
Gets to the point where she's competing on the world stage with ice skating. She's winning championships, but she gets to the Olympics, I believe, in 2018, and she gets 6th place. Okay. Kind of devastating for her because, again, the pressure. She, her dad's known to have fired gold medal winning coaches multiple times. She wasn't really happy. She was forced not to eat a lot, to be skinny, to, train a certain way. So comes the next Olympics, and I guess, again, like there's the lockdowns, COVID. She quits for 2 years, basically. She's like, you know what? I'm burnt out. She was, I don't know if she was truly using it the right way. I think maybe she was. When you're competing at that elite level, her mind was like that. She like completely quit something that she did love. For 2 years, she lives her life, explores the world. And what's interesting, and this is, by the way, another secret for creators to get out of burnout and to get in the flow again. She just, not even ice skating, she went skiing, I believe. And she felt like, you know what, this is fun. Like she was out in the snow, it's a little bit like ice skating, it's just like on 2 flat surfaces, just on the snow or whatever. And so she goes to an ice rink and she starts skating again. And she said she loved it, but it was different because she was doing it for herself. She had new rules now. She's like, hey, I'm going to do this on my own terms. You're not going to tell me what to eat. I'll eat what I want. And I'm going to always make sure I'm having fun doing it. You can clearly see a difference. First off, she's got like I don't know, not even leopard. She looks like a reverse zebra hair girl. She's got piercing. Yeah, she got a piercing on her teeth. Okay. And it's funny because it's not like I look at anyone, including a female athlete, and judge their body, but you can tell she's not shaped like the other athletes. Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all because she wins gold. But the point is this, she's doing it on her own terms. But what's most significant, she did it with a smile. She was having fun. This is unlike what you see with many high-performing athletes because it's so serious. The biggest difference was when she was competing in the past, and she says this, it was forced, and she didn't really enjoy it. Now she's having fun, and she's just having the time of her life. And even before she gets a score, she's not celebrating because she thought she won. She's celebrating because she just was loving what she was doing. She was ecstatic the whole way through. And long story short, if you haven't seen it, she won gold medal. And that celebration was through and through. I believe she would have still enjoyed it, even if she had made a mistake, even if, she didn't get the good scores. So that alignment. And I think that for me, by the way, that's her story. My big takeaway for creators. I mean, this is called the Creator Secrets podcast, so I always have to talk about what is the takeaway for creators. Because I really believe, for me, this is the most powerful story. When you're having fun, the creative magic is always way more powerful. Yeah. It just always is. So set aside the fundamentals that give you the skills, gives you the ability, gives you the confidence, right? Having fun is like the ingredient in the recipe that is most elusive for most people. This is why the whole cliche term of like follow your fun is so important, because in this case, that's what she did. That was the missing element that made her performance. I'm not even a big fan of ice skating. I loved every second of her performance. I was like, wow, there is something different about this girl. And when she was done, she was all, like dancing around. She's hugging her coaches. Again, before she even knew the scores, she probably had an idea like, oh, that's going to be pretty good. But that's how I like to see creators. Yeah. In fact, my wife probably, again, shout out to her, number one example of what a creator can do to never be burnt out, be consistent, and be the greatest, version of herself. She always makes sure she's having fun. And if she's not having fun, she just doesn't do it.
Yeah, Doc. I mean, you seemed excited about Alysa's performance as well. You agree with Benji? You think that is that what excited you about her performance, or is there another angle that you take into it?
Dude, there's so many angles. Like, there's so many great stories in this. Number one, something that most people don't understand, they haven't figured out quite yet. Her dad was here by himself. He was working. He's a doctor, and he was 40. And he was like, yo, I kind of want to have kids, but I ain't trying to get married. I just want to have kids. He got a surrogate. So he got 5 kids through surrogate. Like, you hear about females doing that. You don't normally hear about dudes who did that. So that's already in itself crazy. Again, being counterculture and doing the things that was so opposite what everyone expected of her, like, piercing your frenulum, not her teeth, but I'll let you slap her teeth. I went to med school.
I mean, it looks like her teeth. It looks like her teeth are pierced.
So underneath your tongue, you have that little thing that holds it to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? That's the frenulum at the bottom, and then the labial frenulum is the one at the top. If you pull your lip out, you look up there, you'll see there's a little line.
Right.
Yeah, that's where it is.
But it's just on her teeth. It looks like it, or whatever.
It looks
gnarly.
like it. 100%.
It's gnarly.
It's 100%. But just that is so opposite of that stodgy sport, Yeah. And she was like, yo, I'm going to make it punk rock. And I think the reason why it's so funny to me is I have always been, since he's been number 2 his whole life, I've always been a fan of Marshawn, even when it was him and AP, even before he became a Raider. I just thought it was dope that here was a guy that wasn't going to let the sports make him do what they want him to do. He was going to maintain his Bay Area hyphy thing. During the time that he was playing, I was very much in my hyphy DJ movement. And so it was like all about it. And I did that in my own career. Like I never wanted to do exactly what everybody told you to do. And in the beginning of YouTube, I started in 06. Like I came to YouTube right after it switched from being a dating app. And I didn't know all of these rules and stuff about niching and all this other stuff. Because in the beginning it wasn't like that. You just randomly posted things. But around about 2012, I said, okay, I'm going to do this for real because a bunch of my friends who were podcasting, who were in MaxSpace, were starting to make channels and just trying to be more like business minded about it. And at that time, I was heavy in the tech space and tech journalism. I was working for AOL at the time, writing for a blog called the Unofficial Apple Weblog. And so I started to get a little bit serious about my YouTube channel. And I really went from 50 subscribers to 1,000 relatively quickly. Then it hit a brick wall. Why? Because I started jumping all over the place and trying to do too many things at too many times. And I realized people can't decide what to come to you about if they don't know what to come to you about. And yes, I'm a multifaceted person. I have tons of hobbies, things that will blow your mind. He's like, I can't believe you're into that. But I was like, I'm going to go have fun, but I am going to pick one thing. And that one thing I'm going to pick is to try to get everybody to stop being scared to come to YouTube. Because at the time, I was trying to drag all of my friends to YouTube. So I had knee surgery, and I was in the hospital, and I was watching this video. And one of the first videos I saw was from Nick Nimmin and Daniel Batal, and they were talking about how live was starting to make a comeback on YouTube. Now, this is circa 2019. And, it's like, oh, doing live stream. I had already been doing live streams, but to Justin TV and to Ustream platform back in the day. So I'm like, well, I have all of that gear. I could do that, and I don't have to spend so much time editing. This ought to be good. And so right after that, I'm in the hospital. The next feed, I get some dude named Sean and some dude named Benji talking about doing videos on YouTube and being consistent and paying attention. And then I bought this book. It's right there. I just can't reach it. Then I bought this book because I had it delivered to the hospital, and I legit read that book in the hospital. So it's kind of funny. When I saw Benji in Seattle, I was like, yeah, you're kind of a problem, dude, because that's why I do YouTube now, was I was recovering from my knee surgery, and I read that book, and I'm like, I'm going all in. And the thing about it, though, I read everything you guys said, but I go, but one thing they can't take out of me, they're not taking the doc out of me. I got to stay me. And I said, I'm going to just have fun. I'm not going to sweat the numbers. I'm not going to get stuck on vanity metrics. I'm just going to just do what I do and do it the best I can and give as much as possible. And I immediately went from about 1,300 subscribers to 20,000.
Wow.
Just by letting go, Elsa, and just being myself. So it's funny, this full circle that we sit here again. I tell everybody I got onto Ecamm because of Pat Flynn and a girl named Diana Gladney. And then I went hard back onto YouTube as a real deal Holyfield thing because of YouTube Secrets. And I swear I saw a couple of those. I saw Owen Video was talking to Heavy back in the game. And these are all people that I talk to on a regular basis now. But just really wild that, I just happened to be watching those videos. And Tim Schmoya, my buddy Tim.
Wow.
Tim was making a lot of videos back in the day about it. And I should just watch all of this stuff. And it's like, okay, I'm going in. I'm going to do this YouTube thing. But it's not going to take me away from me. And so that's what I love so much about her, is she's maintaining herself. Because Benji said it, it's so hard to be somebody else, bro. Some days it's hard to be me.
Speaking of Ice Queens, Alysa did it her own way, and she did it with a smile.
Yes.
And the only other way to not win a gold with a smile is if you get your teeth knocked out and then you go down the ice and you score a goal. But, 45 minutes in here, let's go ahead and get to some follow-up. Let's batten down the hatches a little bit, and let's talk about what's next. So the first item of follow-up is about Netflix and TV background viewing. Doc, I know you've been watching our show for a while. I don't know if you were here when we were talking about this last time, but the end of last year, we started to discuss this new, I know that you're interested in talking about YouTube, we started to discuss this new research by a firm called TVision. And one of the things that they said is they basically put cameras into people's homes and got data not only on the viewership, who was watching, but on how attentive they were when they were watching. And what they found is that YouTube, compared to all premium streaming apps, has much lower attention scores. And the analysts, when they were talking about it, wasn't outright negative about things, but there was kind of an implication that this type of viewing isn't as valuable as one that you're like fully engaged in, you're fully immersed in. So to start, Benji, I'm curious about what your thoughts are about that idea of the value of different kinds of attention. And then I want to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. So like an example would be a movie on Hulu versus a video on YouTube, right? And the difference,
yes.
There's definitely a difference, okay? Generally speaking.
And what about the value? Is one more valuable than the other?
I do believe that.
Yeah.
So for the movie, for the content itself, the movie on Hulu is going to capture attention almost 100%, especially if you have to pay. We actually talked about this in the movie theater. The movie theater is 100%. So it's super valuable until it's not. Because what ruins a movie experience?
People pulling out their phones.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying in the movie itself.
I don't know.
If an ad shows up, okay? On YouTube, though, it's known that YouTube is going to run an ad, okay? And also people are watching it on their devices. So I would not argue it's as valuable. But again, these are two totally different behaviors, different platforms, different kind of expectations. But the reason I use that example is now if you start comparing to like a TikTok or a short form versus long form, or maybe a live stream where you're engaging with them, right? Like you're asking questions. The variations are just endless, okay? Yeah. But yes, different types of content will have different value dependent on the thing. So for example, if somebody is watching with no ads, right? They might be less distracted. I mean, at the end of the day, this is why I think you have to be really creative with ads, because this is the running joke with us around here is like, and Doc, let me know, do you use short form at all? Are you on TikTok at all?
YouTube Shorts and Instagram Shorts. Okay. I'll occasionally post a TikTok when I remember. My problem is at this age, I keep forgetting.
How often?
But TikTok and YouTube is legit.
How often are you seeing an ad on your short form viewing sessions?
And when you first load on both platforms now, it's mathematic. 1, 2, 3, ad. And then if you happen to pause on the ad for too long, you'll get 2, 3 ad, 2, 3 ad. But if you can get past it real quick because you didn't notice it was an ad, they'll spread it out. You'll get more before it shows you the next one. But if you stop for 1 second, bro, they're like, oh, this person likes ads. They'll show you more.
Okay, let me ask you that.
I don't mind that.
When you see an ad on short form, what is your behavior? What do you do?
Lately, I've been buying stuff.
Okay, so
which is why I keep catching them, because I saw something really cool the other day, and I was like, "Fam, I kind of need that," so I bought it. I bought it from the ad. I ain't gonna lie.
But most people, and I think TikTok is probably the biggest example of this, swipe past. So
100.
The question is this, like, how valuable is that attention? I personally, like, for that sponsored post or an ad, it's not that valuable to me, okay? They play a volume game. They're also playing another strategy that we're not going to discuss. So to answer your question, yes, different kind of viewing sessions, different types of content, different platforms will have different values for. Are we talking for the advertiser or just in general?
Well, I think in general, but especially for the advertiser. Doc, I'm curious about what you think too. I'm assuming that you agree with Benji that a lower engagement and attention has less. Let's talk about just the advertiser to simplify things. It has less value for the advertiser.
Well, I was going to say, as a user, I was going to disagree with him, because people that live in the house with a bunch of folks, you forgot what it's like to be lonely in the house. But when you be by yourself, like there's only the two of us, and sometimes it's just one of us because, one of us are busy doing something else. And so although I'm a person who enjoys my alone time, ever since I was a little kid, like I've always used the TV as company. right? Might not be fully engagedly watching, but I can hear. And those of us who happen to be blessed with the alphabet disease and ADHD, we actually can multitask. Y'all can't. We can. So I can grab everything that they said word for word, verbatim, memorized in the back of my head, not even looking at it. So when I was in school, I used to get sent to the principal's office because they're like, you're drawing on the paper, you never take notes, and you don't bring books, but you're a straight A student. You're cheating. And I'm like, no. And they're like, no, you're cheating. I'm like, no, I'm not. Ask me any question in the book. I can tell you what page it's on, what paragraph. And they swore to God I was cheating. And it's just one of those things when you're an ADHD person, you need that stimulus so that your brain doesn't go crazy. Because if you leave it to cook by itself, oh, you think Benji could cook? We got like 8 dishes going on in here.
By the way, though, on that point, why that makes it valuable, and I actually agree with you, is because you can't change the channel as quick as you can swipe.
That's a good point.
Bingo.
So TV
Bingo.
actually was valuable compared to TikTok, I'll tell you that for sure, because people would just leave it on. The difference now is, and this, there's anecdotal cases like what Doc's talking about, there's more distractions.
Yeah.
And less people are subscribing to TV, cable cutting now, and it just all depends. Like, there's just so many things. But if we're just generalizing, right, this is, by the way, why I think a loyal audience to a dedicated live stream show is one of the most valuable audiences you can get, because there's something novel now about like, wow, this is happening in real time, and I want to see what happens next.
Yeah, because you never know what will happen.
Or I could ask a question and they're going to answer it. This is why I try to answer as many questions on my live stream. So yeah, it depends on how you're comparing. And again, like, set aside all the nuances of different individual people. Just it's like, it's all about like, does the message get through? And even in Doc's case, the message gets through, because it's the only message that is even in the background playing. But this, what actually ruined everything for advertising is the device. They say it made it great because now you can target people, but guess what? Everybody can target you. There's notifications and pings. Literally, Nucci's phone was literally ringing 5 times today on all the different timers he was running. So we didn't have that, 20 years ago in the 90s. And so, well, actually 30 years ago.
And my math is currently 1 to 1,000, I think. And what I mean by that, a loyal, dedicated watcher on YouTube, that single person is worth 1,000 on, say, TikTok. And the reason for that is, if someone's coming to you on YouTube, first of all, to come to YouTube is very intentional. You're going to probably pick what you want to watch. It's not, everyone seems to think it's algorithm based, but no, it's more your interest based. You're being fed what you say you're interested in. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to spend more time with you, and time equals trust. The more time you spend with the person, the more you trust that person. I would say right now, Benji trusts Nucci and Austin and Chris and the other people in his circle because he spent so much time with them. And what happens is, because of the length of the videos, you immediately build a better rapport with those people. And so that's why, I forget the exact lady's name, but she tried to do a live in-person event from TikTok with 20 million followers and couldn't sell 200 tickets. But like, I can open up an event myself with 20,000. I can get 200 people without even thinking about it.
And that's true even with or
they
without.
have time with you, hours at a time.
Doc, that's true with or without a having a engaged viewer who's watching you even in the background, right? So if someone's watching you in the background, you still feel that time and trust are kind of correlated.
100%, because you're hearing what the person's saying, you're talking, there's less distraction, there's less easeability to jump, like Benny said, jump ship. If you remember TV, you ever had one of those parents, aunties or uncles that was just the remote click, 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 and they couldn't stop on something? It would drive you batty.
Yeah.
Even if you're riding in the car, if we're doing a road trip and it's Nucci's turn to rock the radio and he's going up and down the dang dial, eventually I'm going to flick his fingers and like, bro, pick a song. Because that's just insane. And you back in the day, we had that person. It was always a meme of the person who just clicks channels. You don't really do that nowadays when it comes to say like YouTube. Whereas on TikTok, that's exactly it. You got the thumb flickers, right? So Benji nailed that 100%. You build better trust, and therefore you, even as a creator, you know what to create because you have way more information. What everybody does on these other platforms is almost spray and pray, to take it to a military thing. You just squeeze and just hope something lands.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating as a creator. Like, how do you keep that going when everything is about trying to one up the next thing, trying to get more eyeballs, and you're not really building any relationships with folks? And we're humans, man. We like relationships.
Yeah, and I think that the reason I asked that question, Doc, is because that idea of more distractions that Benji brought up, right, it is kind of the thing that they were critiquing in that TVision report, right? And so a couple of weeks ago, they were putting that YouTube attention up against something like Netflix's attention, and saying that those are two different things. But also a couple of weeks ago, we covered on this show an anecdote that puts a little context around it, which is that Matt Damon was complaining about Netflix putting its thumb on the scale in terms of the story creatively, saying basically what they're asking them to do in action movies now is put the big set piece up front instead of like building it towards the end of the movie, and then repeat out loud the verbal things that were happening throughout the show to explain the plot to people who were distracted by their phones, right? And so he went so far as to say that Netflix was asking the creatives to repeat plot points out loud over and over because they expect people to be on their phones while they're watching. And to me, the thing that Benji and I talked about kind of after that show was that we felt that they were optimizing for these numbers, not necessarily for this artistic risk taking, right? And so does that kind of speak to what you're saying, Doc? Is that like about you kind of being yourself versus optimizing? Okay.
100. Like, I absolutely hate that. Number one, look, I'm gonna make it selfish again, and I'm sorry. I'm brilliant, and I think most people are. I think the one thing that we really need to stop telling ourselves is that we have short attention spans, because we don't. We have short interest spans. If you can keep the person's interest, you could be with them forever. I know for a fact, if we went to Anchor Coffee and we sat down and we were enjoying ourselves, like you, myself, Benji, we could talk for days about this kind of stuff, right? Because we're all deeply interested in it. None of us are having an attention span problem while we're doing this because we're deeply invested. What you're saying is, when people say, this became a point of contention in my family. Oh, my daughter, she's always on the phone at the dinner table, so she can't be at the phone at the dinner table. I go, she doesn't do that when she eats at Uncle's house. Why not? Because me and her are interested. Like, I keep her engaged. Well, I can't even get her to talk to me. I was like, well, what do you ask her? Oh, what'd you do at school today? Yeah, I don't ask that question. Why? Because the answer is nothing. Right? I'm like, all right, girl, what is the tea at school? Who is doing what? Like, spill the dirt. And, she unleashes. Oh, Stacy was doing such and such. And then Austin came late to class. And I don't know, he think he's smart. He's not even that smart. I'm smarter than him. And, I get like an hour long. I know everything that's going on in that school. I might as well be enrolled. But I don't ask her questions like, what you do at school today? The answer is nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So when nobody has a short attention span, that excuse is because you're just not catching them where they want to be, because you're trying to take shortcuts. You're like, how fast can I make money off of them? So I really wish we would stop telling each other we have bad attention spans. And the other thing I really wish we would stop saying, I wish we would stop saying that everybody in our country is getting dumber. Because if you keep telling people that, they will perpetuate that. And I don't believe that. I think human brain is amazing if you let it. And I think we spend too much time trying to tell each other who's dumb and who's not dumb, and who's trash and who's not trash. Like, this is a foul things to say. Nobody is trash. I might not like you. I might, want to take you out in the back and handle you, but I'm not going to call you trash. You're still a person.
I do think, though, I agree with you that people are getting probably smarter, faster, but I believe that people are more distracted than ever. Like, even I get distracted. One of my practices, when I know I need to do a lot of work, I have to create a lot of content, or I'm doing tons of live streams. I told you I started doing this in 2026. I don't consume any content during the day. So I don't get into podcasts. I can't go swiping on Instagram Reels. I have to free my brain of all of that because I'm so focused on what I'm doing right now. And more important than just focus on work, I have to create stuff. And to create stuff, your mind has to be free from those distractions. And it's funny because, there's so many kids want to become YouTubers, or probably more so now TikTokers. I don't know what they call them, but creators in general. And they don't know that the thing that they're doing that's inspiring them to want to become a creator is the thing that's probably hurting them the most. One of the rules with my kids, because again, my kids are part of that generation that could actually potentially be smarter and more brighter. And of course, I'm biased. I think they are. But one of the ways we're making them bright, if I can give myself credit, is not be on the device as much and not be distracted. They know that it's a tool unless it becomes a distraction.
Yeah.
And so, Doc, I don't want to date you or anything, but you and I probably grew up in the same like era. But there's definitely not. I was outside playing for 8 or 9, 10 hours. Okay. And what's funny is even though I wasn't doing anything creative necessary or studying like physics, my brain being free of all those distractions let me imagine a lot more, let me to create more and just become who I am. And what's happening is fewer and fewer people are putting in the practice and the consistency to create something great. And then what's happening is they get all the attention, right? And especially with the algorithm, figure it out versus everybody else. I tell them, hey, if you want to become a creator, stop consuming, create more.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
You do that.
Create more than you consume. That is the rule. For my niece and my nephews, that's the rule. You guys got to create more than you consume. And Benji, I will say one thing. Because we were out in the streets, we were doing physics, right? I was like, if I put these plywood on top of these 2 tires and I bring the BMX down the hill at this particular speed, I can clear the creek. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Boom! Right into the side of the creek. Busted nose. And I was like, we're going to need a little bit more height and a little bit more speed. We were doing physics. We just didn't know we was doing physics.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, last thing I'll say on this note is one reason why I think this generation is actually smarter and they're moving faster and they're going to be able to do more, right? Like us fogies are talking about back in the day or whatever is, as quick as they can be distracted, they can as quickly create stuff. Okay. Neutrally is doing a lot of my thumbnails. What used to take like 30 to 60 minutes to create, he's doing it in 3 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It's great. And he's not a graphics guy, okay? Let's be honest. I kind of gave up on him ever going the direction of making my thumbnails. And because of ChatGPT and us just working together, it is like clockwork. It's crazy. Today's thumbnail, I don't know if you saw it for my live stream when I was using Ecamm Live. He made it. He made it like in a matter of 5 minutes, standing across the kitchen counter.
You don't know this, but the plate was empty.
I had no idea.
And we just took a screen grab of yakisoba, and I just told him to put it in the plate.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
And I don't know, like, actually, bring it over here so I can show people and then zoom in on my camera.
The thumbnail. Where's the dang yakisoba?
By the way, I mean, so I
was wondering the same thing, Doc.
Okay, you guys.
Right? I saw it.
Okay, well, I just want the audience to see this. Okay, I just want you to know, we took the picture of me holding an empty bowl because I don't have a thumbnail of what I haven't cooked yet. And that's always become a problem, right? And so we would just like grab like old like screenshots. This is my actual yakisoba that I cooked years ago, like a decade ago. I just happen to have a picture that I found it, okay? So what he told ChatGPT was, hey, take this picture and put this noodles inside of the bowl. And it's crazy because it's so accurate. This is a real picture of me today. So this is not fake.
Show the first one. It's in there.
Okay. And can I speak to that while actually he pulls
right
it
here?
Up? Yeah.
Okay, zoom up, okay? So I'm actually making a point, not just for young people, for anybody. This is a use case of AI that legit is impressive. And then what's funny is we normally take an actual thumbnail so that we don't just rely on this one. But these are getting so good that we don't even use the thumbnail we create. And this is still real. Now this, I cooked 10 years ago. This image of me, this is now, okay? So this is an example of like AI being used. And it's a real image. And this is what I'm saying. There's people, it would have taken like however long to do this. Even the color and everything about this is crazy. So mutually, one of the reasons I hire people that are younger, right, of a younger generation, is because they teach me these things. He just did it without like thinking. Here you go. So why am I making this point? I know that we went off on a crazy rabbit trail here, but I'm telling you what you can do right now with content creation using both AI and tools like Ecamm Live to live stream, just creating content. It's nuts. We've never been able to move this fast. The only thing that will stop you is being distracted by consuming other people's content. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the
Yes, and it
significance.
triggers the comparison monster, which I admit, normally I'm pretty good with this. It's not something that I, bother too often. But I told my people today on the live stream, I was like, yo, like recently, comparison monster been knocking on the door, be like, hey, dog, what's up? You want to play? And I'm like, no, go away. Leave me alone. And that's one of the reasons why you're stuck. It's like, okay, I need an idea. I need an inspiration. Let me go to the box. You go to the box, you start looking at some videos. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm not as good as that. Oh, my God, they've surpassed me. So, no, that is a bad place to look when you need, go to your fundamentals. Record something, say something. Even if something is, I have nothing to say today, but I just wanted to hang out with you guys, see what you guys are doing. That's better than going and try to copy somebody else's thing.
I think the significance of that thumbnail too, Benji, that you were showing there is that it speaks to some of the things that we talk about when it comes to packaging, right? Like a lot of people talk about AI as if it's the thing that's making things less authentic, but actually I would argue that the thumbnails that you're creating there are more authentic to the content that you're creating in those moments with Ecamm Live, right? So before, what you were doing is you're taking screen grabs from a previous version of you doing it, which means you're wearing different clothes, in different lighting, different time of day, maybe with different food to some degree or another, right? But with this one, what you're doing is you're taking it so that you're having those elements that are actually going to be clicked through on by a viewer so that they recognize who you are, where you are, when you are, right? And then adding that a little bit of extra sauce there, basically, and making it so that they know what they're going to get at the end of the day there without you having to cook a whole dish beforehand and waste all the food that you created. And so the marriage of those two things are what allow you to do that creation. And I think it's also what YouTube has as an advantage, right? You guys talked earlier about, and we started this conversation talking about the difference between Netflix and YouTube and where they're kind of at. Well,
that's
one of the
where we
reasons
started.
one of the reasons why we're talking about this is because Netflix is buying Warner Brothers, right, in order to get all of this content so that way that they can have more content for their algorithm to select. But YouTube is doing pretty good on that because guess what? They don't have to go there and tell Matt Damon to put the big set piece in the first 5 minutes because there's so much creativity spread across all of the people constantly uploading to YouTube that nobody has to greenlight. There's no Netflix at the bottom saying, no, you can't do that. You have to have that in the first 5 minutes of the video, right? But I think the bigger takeaway here is that in my eyes, Netflix is still kind of confused about what it wants to be, right? Because why would they be caring about these low attention viewers if their identity is anchored to being this kind of higher end service, right? So I'm not necessarily saying that it's a bad business move in terms of like the way that they're guiding these creatives. It may be, it may not be. I'm just saying that I think YouTube's approach is very clear, which is a very good thing for creators because guess what? It helps them create more than they consume. Now, I want to get into the first topic of the day, which is the idea of something that is going on in a traditional broadcast medium, which is what's going on in CBS. Now, I'm going to give you a timeline here, which is that last week on Monday, February 16th, Colbert on the Late Show was saying that CBS lawyers stopped him from interviewing Texas Democratic U.S. Senate candidate James Talarico on air for CBS, driven by what FCC calls the equal time requirements, based off of fear that there's this new kind of Trump administration guidance from Brendan Carr, who is the chair of the FCC. To give you a sense of what this equal time rule is, it comes from the era that you two are talking about, back when there was a TV, right? And the idea was that because there's a limited amount of airwaves that these things can be broadcast on, if you have a news station and you're interviewing one candidate, you need to give time to the other candidate as well from both parties so that you have equal time on the air. Now, this has not been enforced for many, many years because guess what happened? The internet, YouTube happened, right? So everybody recognized that over the air is not where people were traditionally watching a lot of these things. And so what they did instead, in terms of what the Late Show did, in terms of getting James Talarico on their show, is that they interviewed him still, but instead of broadcasting it live over the TV, they uploaded it to YouTube. Now, neutrally, I don't know if you could cue up the first image for us, but here is the view count of the clip from the live broadcast where Stephen Colbert is explaining what is going on with the FCC. You can see there, it says why CBS didn't broadcast Stephen Colbert's interview with James Talarico. And at the bottom, you see it says 4.2 million views. And at the bottom, you also see a vidIQ feature, which shows you the multiple of what an average view is on this late show channel. So it's getting 20 times the amount of views of an average video. Now,
And still 5-10 an hour a week later. That's the big one too.
yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so 510 views per hour. That's the other little bubble there at the bottom there. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the next image, which shows you the actual interview. Now, remember, this didn't air. It actually has double the amount of views, more than double the amount of views of the actual clip from the show at 8.8 million views, 40 times the average view count on their videos on their channel. And to Doc's point, 2,000 views an hour a week later. So this was amazing. Yeah, this is amazing to me. There's a couple of takeaways that I have, and then I want to hear what you have to say, Doc. The first takeaway is that, number one, there's a shift away from broadcast. Broadcast is not what it used to be, right? There's different rules online. Like people, view content differently than they did in the past. No surprise to anybody watching this show, right? But more importantly, the view counts there are crazy to me, right? There's this effect called the Streisand effect. Are you guys familiar with the idea of the Streisand effect? The idea is basically that for those who haven't heard it before, is that if you say not to look at something, people want to look at it more. And so this is kind of what they were doing is the Colbert Report, I mean, not the Colbert Report, that's the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He sort of turned on that Streisand effect for this interview, and it channeled all of those broadcast viewers. And guess what? It also caught the algorithm and got people talking about the fact that it was missing and made people want to watch more. Doc, what were your thoughts about this when you saw this?
Well, the thing is, I think the thing that's the most hilarious about it is the people at the TV, and even going back to that report that we came from TVision earlier, they're still trying to figure out a way to make the internet be what TV is.
Yeah.
And the highest people, 20 years at this, they still can't get it through their head. TV will never be what the internet is. Now, even when the internet was the slower opponent, tortoise hair type situation, they thought they could stave it off. Print media, now it's true. Many people are going back to analog. Bookstores are more popular than ever before. Barnes & Noble's opening up like 2,000 bookstores this year. But there's something different about TV, because if I say to you, oh my God, did you guys see the season 2, episode 3 of The Pit? This was something absolutely phenomenal. As a paramedic, I've been through this exact situation. You can go watch that right then and there.
Yeah.
I can find the clip version on YouTube and send it to you on the phone, and I can immediately have 4 of us watch the same thing. And the way TV works, that just doesn't happen. When we wanted to watch a person go to the moon, we all sat in elementary school on the floor. Benji didn't want to date me. I just made it worse. We sat in elementary school on the floor and we watched the launch, right? We sat in elementary school and I watched Columbia take off, And so, I wasn't elementary at that point. But, it's one of those things where you could easily spread things around, and that didn't really work on TV. You had to wait till that person got home. And even in the idea of TiVo or DVR, when we were saving things, we just weren't doing it at the clip where if we were at a store hanging out in the parking lot, I could make 10 people watch this exact clip at one time. There's no way to do that in any way, shape, or form with television. It just doesn't work. And so, yeah, to me, that's the more important thing.
Yeah.
Is the pervasiveness of really good content and how stories can be told. And I want to recircle back on something that kind of blew my mind that I don't understand. Maybe Nucci, who's the baby of the bunch, might know. I got people who watch entire animes in 3-minute clips on shorts. I'm like, you do what? I'm like, I got the whole One Piece, soup to nuts, English and Japanese, and you're watching it on TikTok in clips? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, fam, come to my house. I'll make you food. Just please don't do that to your brain. Like, you need to watch. You got to respect the gangster that made this show. You got to watch it in its full glory.
Especially
like,
if there's ads in between. My gosh.
I'm like, One Piece ain't for the little device and like watching 3 minutes of One Piece. Nani yatte no mo hontou ni baka nan desu kedo. So.
That was a curse weird. Word in Japanese, if you want to know. Okay, so can I say my thoughts
I
about
want
it?
to hear your thoughts.
You're not supposed to snitch, Benji.
It's okay. Well, first off, the FCC did them a favor.
Tell me more about that.
Well,
because of the Streisand effect.
Yeah, because they said, hey, we're going to put these regulations on you that you have to abide by, that you have to respect. And 2 things. number one, whenever you tell Americans you can't get information, they will boycott. It doesn't matter like what side of the aisle you are on, what's your political stance, what's your, ideals or whatever. Okay. So that's number one. And they had a loophole like, hey, I can't do this on TV, but I can do it on YouTube because YouTube, and this was nuts about this platform. It's like the bastion of free speech. Okay. It's the ultimate. Doesn't matter where in the world, right? What corner of this country and who you are, where you're from, what's your, social status, how much money you make. If you got a message that is entertaining, engaging, or that people want to hear, it will get out to people. And the algorithm is really good about spreading it. So them telling them you can't have this on TV, and then they make a fuss about it and then put it on their YouTube channel was, helping them. Secondly, if it wasn't for this, no one would have saw that interview. Because the thing about TV that's interesting that, even in its heyday, even when everybody was watching the TV, after that show airs, no one ever sees it ever again.
That was it.
But on YouTube specifically, outside of all the other platforms, like there is some evergreen with other platforms, but on YouTube, it's forever and it's watch. You just proved it with that image, right? 7 days later, it's still getting 500 views an hour.
I mean, the interview is getting 2,000.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Right. So it totally backfired. And the FCC, now, so some people think it's like politically motivated.
Okay.
I think that it might be. Well, my thing was, the other side was doing it to them by not having the other people on. That's like up for opinion. It's not the debate here. What I'm saying is, again, if it was politically motivated, totally backfired because more people know that politician, more people watch Stephen Colbert. And guess what? Now the algorithm's going to probably feed more content from him to those audiences that watch. I even, this is what I thought about. Even people that don't even care about the show probably just watched out of curiosity. Okay. So freedom of speech, the best platform for it, YouTube, helped them out because they found this loophole. And then two, the fact that it's evergreen, it potentially will have legs for much, much longer. And that's where the FCC, even if it was politically motivated, didn't really think this through. And now there's the thing. What if it wasn't politically motivated and they're just, doing what they're supposed to do? They're regulating the law or whatever it is. And it just happened, right? So for me, the takeaway for a creator is the power of YouTube. That if you have something, and what's interesting about this interview is no different than before they knew it was going to go viral. It's the same thing. But man, when there's like this, maybe this novelty of like, it can't be on TV, but it's on YouTube, and there's this interest, man, it can just snowball. And that's the power of the algorithm, and that's the power of YouTube. And that's why if you're a content creator on another platform, the lifespan of your video, right? TikTok, Reels, Shorts, it's very short, but like a long form like that, a week later, it's probably going to still, like, the thing is this, Stephen Colbert is one part of it, but that politician, now every time he goes on any show, anywhere,
or posts his own content,
yes, 100% is going to have way more attention. And now they just help the left.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it to me is exactly what you're getting at and what Doc pointed out, which is that, the amazing thing, and the reason I put those two clips up to show you, or those two images up, is because the interview itself, which was not broadcast on TV, ended up with more views than the clip that was actually on broadcast TV. Now, there's a whole host of reasons for that, right? But like, to me, that shows you exactly what you're saying, Benji, which is exactly what is going on here, which is the power of YouTube. Now, I think that in general, one way to think about it is that if there's a theme to this show that we've been listening, we've been kind of all over the place, working our way slowly closer and closer to the heart of YouTube, is that to explain the power of YouTube, you can begin by looking at what's happening to traditional media, because YouTube is one of the things that's forcing all of these traditional media players to make all these big moves, right? One way that's happening is that Netflix is fighting for Warner Brothers Discovery content. Another way that's happening is that star journalists keep leaving these huge publications, which we'll talk about next week. But there's this other thing that's happening as we get closer to YouTube, which is that YouTube is changing, right? And one of the things that you're keen on talking about, which we'll loop back to again actually at the end of the show, but we're going to talk about now, is that YouTube has become the #1 source for AI search citations. Now, let me go ahead and quote from Trisha Ostwal at Adweek, who says, "The social platform hierarchy in AI citations is changing. Once dominated by Reddit, citations in large language models are now pointing more often to YouTube. New data from 4 sources finds that YouTube has overtaken Reddit as the most frequently cited social platform in AI-generated responses. YouTube had previously fallen behind other user-generated sources because the difficulty large language models, or LLMs, have in pulling information from videos. But transcripts, explainers, and other information associated with videos on YouTube have allowed the video platform to flourish as a source that machines can easily read. Bluefish found that YouTube appeared as a cited source in 16% of LLM answers over the past 6 months, compared to 10% for Reddit, a reversal from earlier periods when Reddit was the dominant social source. Bluefish says that social media's share of AI citations nearly doubled between July and November, growing quickly enough to make up 7% of all citations across LLMs. Now, Benji, I know you just answered, but I know you've also experienced this before. In terms of LLMs citing answers from YouTube videos, we were talking about our course, which is Vlogging Academy, and you went on a Think Media podcast interview. And tell us about the story about what you experienced after that.
Yeah. Turn my mic on there. So I have this thing called Vlogging Academy where I teach the new vlog method. By the way, you want to start a vlog channel, link in the description. But I knew that information is going to get out. Number one, because I have a whole interview with Sean Cannell on his Think Media podcast where I talk about it for 2 hours. And after that, we've done many other, like sessions. So a lot of it's out there. But when I was working out with Sean in my garage, and, we just talk about this stuff. This, by the way, you want to talk about not burning out? Like, this is fun for us. So even when we're not working and we're working out in my garage, we're talking about this. I was like, just for shits and giggles, like, hey, let me see if, like, ChatGPT knows my new vlog method. And so I just asked, hey, tell me about Benji Travis' new vlog method because I want to start a vlog channel. First off, it references that interview with Sean Cannell on Think Media podcast, and it lays out a pretty darn good framework for the new vlog method, and it's sourcing YouTube, okay? Probably sourcing many different ones. That was just the main one. And it made sense. I was like, how many people, it's funny, like I'm like unselling it right now by saying this. How many people are okay with like 60, 70, 80% of the whole thing, or at least just giving you the right direction, and will skip the purchase? There's a lot of people doing it. This is not hypothetical. Lots of course people right now are not seeing as many course sales in their business because people are using ChatGPT. I've said this forever, even when it first was becoming known, even before it. YouTube is the second biggest search engine, but I think more people would prefer the YouTube version than the Google version. They'd rather watch somebody talk about it and listen to them versus read it on a blog. So fast forward to where you're saying it's more, what do you call it? It's more
often cited.
More often cited than Reddit. That's partly because there's just so much volume now. And now with YouTube Shorts, it's crazy. I think like short form in a way, shorter videos in a way have been kind of killed off by short form. And what it's resulted in is more volume. So more information, more education, more just like, data for these AI LLMs, right? AI chatbots or whatever, to be able to answer your question. So it was inevitable. It's happening, and here we are. All your information is getting into these LLMs.
I mean, you see this all over YouTube too, right? There's a Gemini button that lets you literally click on a video and have it be summarized by the AI bot in YouTube itself. So you have to imagine that some of these videos, people are either just clicking on that button, asking it to summarize it, and never watching the whole thing. Or maybe they're not even making to YouTube because they're getting their answers in the LLMs. Doc, do you have any opinions about the implications of that for YouTubers? Like, what does that mean from your perspective?
Okay, so here's the thing. Even it's going to be hard to explain this, but I'll do my best. Even though someone can go to YouTube or Google and pull up a book on how to make yakisoba, they can go to Mitsuya or Don Quixote or whatever, buy all the ingredients and attempt to do it. They're gonna just flub it. It's not the same. Watching Benji actually do it live and seeing what to do when something happens out of order, the instructions never explain that. But the person that's doing it live, they can explain it when something happens out of order because he's chopping his, bougie carrots. I just got orange carrots, Benji. Why you calling me like that? But he's chopping his bougie carrots. He got his cabbages going. And then, like one of the youngins run in there and be like, Dad, I want to da-da-da-da-da. And he's talking whatever. And he's like, oh, smack, my carrots is getting kind of jacked up. Let me show you how you can fix it. The book can't do that. So although everything that's out there, and even stuff in the course, and course people don't want to hear this, not a lot of course stuff is generated whole cloth. Benji's might be an exception because it came out of that melon of his. But most of the stuff that you see people teaching, it's not new. Like they're teaching something else. The accounting book that I had to pay $180 for said the exact same thing as about 17 other accounting books, but my teacher picked that one for some reason. She was getting a kickback. And so, Nucci's the most freshest out of school, so he kind of get it.
Bro, you don't even
so in
know.
a way, though, all of that stuff that we were learning in the accounting books also available on the internet, but we had to buy the freaking book. It was the way it is. So I believe that if you're a good person in creating content, or whether you're creating courses or whatever, you're not really selling the information. And that's been a misnomer for a hot minute. What you're selling is the implementation. What you're selling is the camaraderie. You're selling that insider info, the stuff that just doesn't come out in pencil and paper. And this is where your personality shines. This is where your ability to hold court shines. This is where you allow, the you to be you again. And I hate to keep beating that horse. I'm sorry, no horses were harmed in this rant. But you really have to think about it, the connectivity. The one thing that the AI can't be is human. They're not that good yet. And I think we're way farther off than people think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I could probably go and take the little thing and say, oh, let me go ahead and, see what the bot says about Benji. I kind of rather talk to Benji. It's just different. And the bot don't come with pizza.
Yeah, the four things that you brought up there, right, are implementation. This is what you're selling. Implementation, camaraderie, insider info, and personality. Do you have anything to add to that,
Bingo.
Benji?
Pizza.
I think I want to take a different angle on
Sure,
this.
tell me.
But you better believe AI is coming for you.
Really?
In your audience.
So you disagree with Doc then?
Not necessarily. I agree that you have to do certain things because that is what's going to differentiate you from like the AI chat, right? Like a chat GPT or a Gemini.
So what are those things that you have to do?
Well, let's talk about it. What I'm saying is I just want to acknowledge and make sure all creators are aware. When I did that search for my new vlog method, that was me at the time, right? That is somebody that is not going to YouTube and watching my interview with Sean. That's somebody not going to my Creator Secrets podcast and listening to me. And this is happening on all kinds of niches. We want to talk about why I'm doing a live stream, by the way, is because guess what? They're doing it with recipe videos. I agree that they want to see me and they want to interact with me, right? They might want to see a legit chef like my friend Matt Broussard and how he would do like a lasagna. But there's enough people that are like, you know what, ChatGPT, give me a recipe for lasagna, and they never watch a video. They might have a video playing on in the background that might be lasagna, but it's a different behavior. It's like a different use case. It's not like getting the tutorials that I started on. When I first started doing YouTube videos on YouTube, obviously, it was very much like Food Network style recipe videos. You were shooting and editing my first videos, and we were like geeking out about the graphics you're using and like PVC pipe skateboard things, moving the camera across my counter.
dolly.
Yeah, he made one with PVC pipe, and it was awesome. Those were like those were like 3, 4, 5, 7 minute videos. But as short form came on the scene, people were like, you know what, 60-second version, I'll take that versus a 5-minute version. And so that was a lot of competition. In the AI era, AI is like, I'll take that over both the long version, the short version, and the shorts version. It's happening. You have to be acknowledging of that, because if you're not, you're going to wonder why your views are going down. So what I say is, and I'm going to talk about this at my creator summit that's happening in a couple months. So if you're a creator and you're coming to this, you better go and listen not only to me, but more importantly, other creators that are crushing it. You have to do what AI can't do, which is cheesy, but is be you, be human, okay? And the only way to really prove that is to be human for a lot longer than AI can pump out something that's better, right? More produced, more splashy, more shiny, and all those kind of things. This is why I'm doing live streaming from just like an existence like strategy, because there's no way. Number one of the reasons I stopped, because I couldn't compete against these kids that didn't have kids, that didn't have a job, that didn't have a business, that wasn't coaching and creating courses, whatever. There's no way I couldn't compete against legit chefs and whatever. Now, ultimately, those are kind of excuses. I could, but again, I just wanted to go a different direction. My heart wasn't necessarily like in that anymore as well. And then in the AI age, it's even worse. It's even more competitive. So I'm like, I still love cooking, but I don't want to be doing like those highly produced things. I am not a real chef, but I want to share what I know. And I really don't want to do short form content, especially if I know that AI slop is out there like really competing. And like, how am I supposed to beat like an AI recipe tutorial? Literally, I'm just going to like cook what to do. Some of the most popular cooking channels right now are just cooking hash browns and sausage patties and pancakes, like really like turn and burn diner type of food every single day. The same thing. How is that winning? It's winning because it's just a real person doing something very mundane. It's funny. It's like the most regular things now are novel and interesting, because what's AI's done, what short form's done, what creators have done that are really good at creating content that gets your attention is they made it so splashy and so like what do you call it? What is like highly produced, that they think that's opposite. And I started this whole live stream obsession because I was like, vlogging is back, but it's different. It's like 2008 again. It's like more about me and just me like acting like a normal person. So what I'm trying to say is what Doc is saying is correct, but I think it's more extreme now. So ask, or to answer your questions, what do you have to do? Number one, you have to do what AI can't, which is longer content. And I think live streams is part of that. Two, you have to be yourself, your true self, okay? Not scripted. Because again, when you think about scripted, guess who writes the best scripts? AI, okay? So you have to be just like talk off the cuff. To do that, you have to be good at what you're doing. You have to be comfortable talking about what you, even if you don't know it. You know what's funny? Like there's certain people in the world that they don't know what they're talking about, but they sound like they know what they're talking about. And guess what? They have everyone's attention, okay? So you just have to be comfortable at talking and being yourself. And third, you have to do the thing that people ultimately want when they are done watching the AI slop or the brain rot or the things that it's just like jumbles your brain, which is, guess what? They just want to hang out with another person. This is why in-person events are having a resurgence right now. This is outside of COVID too. It's because they miss this connection. And live streams is really the only way to create that connection the way you would get in a real life scenario, like where you're actually hanging out with the person digitally on these platforms. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to add one other thing to this. I think is super, super crucial. And I think two things, and I think about this because it was one thing I got from my mentor years ago, which really kind of sort of saved my bacon. I used to believe that my goal was to get everybody to, get my product or buy my product or use my product. And, he hit me with something that I've since heard a lot later, but the first person that ever told me was a guy named Bill Bartman. He says, if your audience is everybody or your customer base is everybody, your customer base is nobody. And so for the type of person who would go jack somebody's information like that from the bot to just get a superficial thing and try to run with half the story. Yo, they're not my customer, and I kind of don't want them to be anyway. And I know you can't control necessarily who your customers are. I probably don't want to run with somebody who wants to do everything sort of half baked. You know, I want to run with somebody who's really in this to win this. And my podcast partner and I were talking the other day, and I was like, you know what's crushing my business as a YouTube coach? And I don't want to make stupid people famous. So I only want to work with somebody who really has a good heart and wants to share good stories and wants to make other people better, and it isn't just doing it so that they can pad their pockets. I believe you can totally put money in your pocket, but by teaching a good story and by teaching people to be better humans and bringing camaraderie and making the world a better place, I think you won't be as profitable as the person that's sowing hate, fear, anger, uncertainty, and doubt. But I still believe that you can do positive impact and still make money. That's the whole basis of Ikigai, no matter how watered down the U.S. version tries to be of it. And so this is why even something that we thought was going out the window for absolute sure, which was books, like books are over, the internet got it baked. Yo, in 2022, a $843 million industry now is worth $30 billion. Like, again, I bring it back to in the last 3 years, Barnes & Noble, who was just about to go out of business, is opening some 200 stores this year. People are going back to analog. People are going back to things that were old. Do you know cassettes are popular again? Like vinyl? I sold all my vinyl. Everybody's like, hey, you still got any vinyl? I want to buy some. I'm like, I just got rid of all of it. I had 4 rooms full of vinyl. I've been DJing for 40 years.
No,
I
never get rid of your vinyl.
Everybody wants to be in vinyl now, you know. So I do feel like there is a renaissance, and all of these things happen in waves. And I believe, as dope as AI is for the things that it can do, which is make better diagnosis for healthcare and, you know, make data management things better, the whole thing that we're doing with content and stuff, it will level out and it will remain as this. And Benji said it absolutely 100% correct. It is definitely coming for you. But here's how you make this work for you. The people at the top will get better because they'll spend the time, the energy, have the money and the resources in order to get the best out of it. The people at the bottom now have this sort of Wikipedia disambiguation of information. Anybody can get in. You can, you know, do your best work with it. You can make things happen. The people that's been riding in the middle as a C student, and when I mean top middle, I'm talking about A student, you know, E student, right? The C students who've been just getting by, I just need to get from class to class, I just need to get out of here, y'all gonna get smoked. So the people that are being without resources held back, they will pass you, and the people at the top, they will remain at the top. But everybody who's been trying to do it easily, you're gonna get smoked. So you gotta pick a lane, and I'm asking you to jump into the fast lane.
Yeah.
Whether it's staying analog or whether it's going fully all in, but you really have to pick one.
I think jumping from that C to the A is the big question, right? Which is what you both spoke to, I think. And the common theme, I was listing out the things that you said there, Doc. Selling implementation, camaraderie, insider info, personality. I was like, oh, those are all like 4 really good angles. And then when Benji went and said, be yourself, kind of back to what we were talking about Alysa at the very beginning, right? I was like, oh, well, which one does that relate to? Selling implementation? Well, your implementation is different than everybody else's, right? Selling camaraderie? Well, you're the only one that can provide that type of connection with that other viewer. Selling insider info? Well, by definition, that's something that you only have access to. Selling your personality? Well, of course that's you. So you is kind of the thing that goes through all of those 4 that you were saying there, right? And so what AI can't do, what you said, Benji, is can't be you. It can't be yourself, right? And actually the other one, the technical one, I think is interesting here too, which is the longer content, the live streams. It is actually a limitation that will keep some creators who are going long and going live ahead of AI, at least for the short term here, right? And Doc, I don't know if you have thoughts about that either in terms of being ahead as far as live goes. Like how replicable do you think that is for an AI to do something live?
Bro, it's good. We got a long way out. Man, Austin, you have no idea, my friend, but you just set me up with a brand new thought process. We are in the battle of the vowels. AI versus Y, sometimes OU.
I love that. I love that.
I
Nobody
just
got
can't.
the
Hey,
E though.
somebody, write that down, Nooch. You heard it. I did it. It's 5:06 Hawaiian time. Don't nobody steal it. That is mine. We're in the battle of the vowels. It's literally AI versus YOU, and it can't do live. It's so far away from being human. Like, the company is in Boston. I've gotten to see. We have a spot. You know the yellow dog. We have one in the office, right? And I've seen their robots up and up close. Man, they far off. They look cool. They can do some things. But when dude was trying to dance, I got 2 surgically replaced knees. I will smoke that robot dancing. Like, we still got a ways. So don't be scared, man. Like, just be a better human. That's my favorite thing in the world right now, is just do everything I can in my power to be a better human. And if I can remain that, I feel like I'm good to go until I disappear.
So one more example of somebody doing this with short form and is counteracting all the challenges of AI and just short form content is John Cortese in Seattle. So a friend of mine, a fellow creator, he's arguably one of the more famous people right now in Seattle in terms of like creating content for this city. Shout out to Seattle. But the reason I bring him up is Doc said, yeah, I agree with him that AI is coming for you, and also the competition is coming for you too, because the people that don't want to get left behind, they're working harder. The people that are smart are trying to get smarter, and they're just a lot more tools. Like Nuchly now is like a graphic designer. It's crazy, okay? But it doesn't have to be difficult. It can actually be easier if you do it the right way, the way that is going to create the same connection without all the effort. And the reason I bring up John Cortese is I was interviewing him for a new show I'm doing, right? It's the Creator Secrets interview show. And it started snowing in Seattle. And he's like, oh, hold up. I got to like create a TikTok right now. And Liu, within like 60 seconds, hey guys, everybody, like we're recording this interview. He's like, well, let me show you how I create a TikTok. And within like 15, 20 seconds, he had just created a TikTok, and that thing was just uploaded like an hour later. He would have uploaded it earlier if he wasn't getting interviewed by me, okay? He does 5 to 7 of those a day. They don't take a lot of editing. They're almost no editing. In some case, it's one shot. And what is he doing? He's literally just being himself. He's expressing his ideas, and he's doing it consistently. I used to think, and I've said this, 5 to 7 a day, that's kind of crazy. It's funny, I was one of those crazies doing one vlog a day, okay? But guess what? He made it easy for him. And what he's creating does have value. Part of that value is he's just human. Everyone else kind of like took the humanity out of their content. They overly produced it. It was about the editing. It was about all the graphics. What did you call it? The dipply-doo?
The dipsy doodle.
Dipsy-doo, right? It was all that kind of stuff. And that's what I recognized with vlogging like 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, dude, this is just webcam footage on a nicer camera. It's not a webcam, it's a DJI Osmo, but it's just like talking to the people. That's all you got to do. John Cortese can put on an event and sell out 600 tickets because he's just being himself every single day. He actually showed me how to make a TikTok in real time. It kind of blew my mind because I don't do short form content, right? But you know what's the same between his short form and my vlogging is? We're just as close to ourselves in person as possible. You know this with my
Authentic.
new vlog. Yeah. Like I'm like, you almost don't even need to edit my vlogs. Guess what? I've done a vlog where I didn't edit at all. You can even see me touching the button, right? The record button, which would have been taboo back in the day, but people that actually don't care. They actually kind of like, oh, like he's like real, right?
Yeah.
It's not like this fake whatever. So what I'm trying to tell anybody, and this includes beginners and kind of building on what Doc said. Yeah, the game is different now. And AI came after short form was like the nuclear bomb. It's kind of like a meteor shower now coming down, okay? But there is respite. There are ways to create content, and it doesn't have to take over your life. And just like Doc, I just watched him do like 30 days of content, right? It can actually be easier. but you have to be creating content that's fun for you. You have to be doing it in a way that's easy to stay consistent or easier to stay consistent. And you just have to act more natural, more human. That's what's the problem. Everyone's trying to compete against AI now, and everyone else, like I used to try to compete against those chefs. No, you do the complete opposite. If there was ever a time for the beginner to share their journey and that becomes something that gets 1 million views, it is right now, because people aren't doing that. They think they have to go the other way and try to compete against a computer. The computer's going to win. I've done some of these video generation tools. It's ridiculous. Just like I tell my kids, don't let your devices use you, right? You got to use the device, make it a tool. Don't let AI beat you. Use AI for your content. You got to be smart about it. And yeah, it's interesting. Again, we've never actually deep dive into this the way we are with Doc. And I'm going on a rant here because I think a lot of creators are going to feel like they're burnt out or feel like they want to quit because it's getting so hard. It's because you're doing it the old way. You got to do it the new way. And even like in real life streaming, live streaming doesn't have to be that. You don't have to have a backpack and carry around a camera and do all that. Nothing against that. It's still working and there's people doing it. I know like one of the biggest in real life streamers in Seattle that, like building an audience, but it's crazy. I'm doing a live stream in my kitchen in the comfort of my own home, and it's easy. That's what's crazy. It's easy. It's easier than any other live stream I've ever done. I almost joke with Nucleus, it's like he doesn't even need to be in my house anymore. He does it inside of his bedroom. You just gotta be like making sure. Yeah, that's Nucleus. He's like got the magic wand, so he's like a
fairy godmother.
Fairy
God
producer.
Nucci.
All right, sorry, I just been talking enough. I know we got some other topics.
Well, no, I want to keep the energy going
Yeah.
because that idea of getting to that one vlog a day was no accident, actually. And there's a story here, and I've kind of gotten a couple of graphics here to kind of tell that story because we're at one layer of the discussion, which is like, be you, right? Which is like maybe kind of cheesy, but like it's real advice in this scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like there's some layers to this that show you the power of being you, because guess what? Benji's been doing it for a hot second here, like we were just talking about. So this is the segment of the show that we call the film room, which is kind of like the director's commentary for the channels that we run here at Creator Secrets. And so I've been working for Benji for about a decade on and off now at this point. And we really started to connect around November of 2023 when you told me that you wanted to make a course actually about brand deals at the time. And now you know this already because we talked about it on the show that we actually made a course about vlogging, but we'll get to that in a second. So at the time, I would say, Benji, you were very much in your motivational era, right? You and Judy had been vlogging for over a decade at that point. You'd started multiple channels, all massively successful. Doc already gave you your props for writing YouTube secrets and having all of those things. But you went on Twitter to go tweet some inspiration because you were feeling so motivational at that point. And let me go ahead and read it to you here. 34 days left in the year. If you create a video a day, that's already better than 99% of creators out there. You'll end this year strong and 100% start out 2024 with a bang. Don't wait for the new year to crush it. That was November 27th. Remember, this is me reconnecting with Benji in November of 2023. Just hours later, he got a response from Daniel Batal. And this is no hate to Daniel Batal. He's a great friend of the show. And actually, he has a great response at the very end. But he's like, Benji, video a day? Pass me that bottle. Whatever you're drinking, I want some. Now, 30 days later, just to cut to the chase here, Benji replies to Daniel with this, which is a screen recording of him scrolling through his channel where it says 30 videos, 30 days, it's possible. So, and by the way, Daniel replied after that, he's like, dang, bro, you're the OG, you're the best. So what made that possible? That was the real question. Now, I'm going to put a pin in that. We're going to come back to it. At the same time, we were also creating this brand deals course, right? We were going down this brand deals kind of course path. We weren't quite ready. We're still kind of getting our wheels underneath us. Doc, I don't know if you know this story actually, but we were inspired by Benji's unofficial Vlogmas, right? Because he was doing this all of the month of December, right? And so what we decided to do come January was pivot to what Benji's really known for, which is vlogging. And that experience altogether became Vlogging Academy, our course that teaches people how to vlog the new way. If you want to check it out, it is in the description, vloggingacademy.com. But I tell that story as context because Benji started vlogging in a new way in December of 2023, which means that we have 26 and 3/4 months experience of data that we can come back to. Now, Benji, before I get to the data, which I think is going to be the star of the show here, tell us a little bit about what has happened and how your vlog approach has changed over those last 27 months. But tell us first, at the beginning of that story, what your approach was in terms of vlogging the new way, because I think it applies to everything that you and Doc were just talking about.
Yeah, and this is way before AI was a serious discussion and competing with creators. This was before the television was a part of the focus of a new device that's creating this new behavior for watching long form content. So going back to that era, by the way, there's a little hidden joke in there. Daniel Batal, which is a friend of mine, him and I geek out on whiskey. We both like whiskey and bourbon and whatever. And so when he said, "Hand me that bottle," yeah, I like the Japanese whiskey too. Okay, but I'm more of a bourbon guy.
No, I have a massive whiskey collection,
No
bourbon
way.
and Japanese. I got both. I'm friends with Jacob No, who's the great grandson of Jim Beam.
Well, hey,
No way.
I need to go visit you. But so when Daniel said that, it was just funny because, it's Twitter. We're not taking it too seriously, but at the same time, he was taking a little jab at me, okay? And at the time I was coaching creators, this kind of new vlog method, I was telling people that like this is going to work. Because what was happening is vlogging kind of died the old way, or it got so competitive. Why? When you first started vlogging in the era that Judy and I started, it was really behind the scenes content of what your audience already knew about you. So it was an extension. So you had to be famous, or you had to have a whole bunch of subscribers for your vlog to work. And part of the reason it did work is because they wanted to know more about you than whatever the topic of your main YouTube channel was. So in the early days, you literally just vlogged your whole day from morning to nighttime, and you literally vlogged everything. There was no direction. You were the direction. But because you had already proven yourself to an audience, they're like, yeah, I'll watch more. And also there wasn't as much content back then, to be fair. Okay. So even though I give my wife a lot of credit, not only for starting us on YouTube when her beauty channel blew up, but then we were like the early vloggers, like even before Casey was doing it. Part of it was wasn't a lot of competition, but guess what? It got competitive fast. And Casey Neistat comes on the scene. All these young kids are vlogging their whole life and doing crazy things like jumping over Ferraris and like filming in like the Suicide Force in Japan. No disrespect, but they were doing stupid stuff. Okay, but it was getting people's attention, and you further had to be more famous, and the algorithm was all mixed up. Okay, all that kind of died. But people were still doing it, especially beginners, or what's actually really sad, big like influencer creators on TikTok coming to YouTube and doing it the way they saw people like my wife and I doing, or Casey and I doing, or just like they vlog in community, vlogging their whole day, but it wasn't getting any views. What people didn't realize is there's so much content and the algorithm was so good. We're feeding into your interest now at a rate where we don't care, right? As viewers, how many subscribers you have. We don't care if we know who you are. We don't even care if you literally, this is day one and this is your first video. If the video has 1 million views and it's around the topic that you're interested in, we might give it a chance and we might watch the whole thing. Doc, I'm sure you can agree with this. There's been plenty of videos that are 45 minutes long that I never would have watched before, but for whatever reason, like it hit that topic and I only had 5 minutes left, but I ended up watching the 45 minutes and I'm late for a call, whatever, okay? So I saw this happening. I'm like, huh. And all that stuff was all over the place, right? There's some like webcam videos, and then there's definitely like the more highly produced stuff. I was like, I feel like this would work for vlogging, but I'm just going to vlog one thing, one topic, one takeaway. And so I started teaching this new method. And so when he said that, I was like, you know what? I'm trying to teach it to people, but they keep falling into the old way. right? They keep doing it the Casey Neistat way, the way my wife, started in 2011, that just died, and they're not listening to it. I will literally spend like 2 or 3 hours with somebody, and like their second or third upload is just like the old way. So I'm like, you know what? And Daniel like called me out. I was like, all right, if Daniel's going to call me out, let me show him what's up. And I did. And this is in an era where we were still vlogging 5 days a week. I have 5 children. Okay, I love hanging out with them. I have this wife that I like to go on dates with. I work out. I don't think I was doing Taekwondo yet, but like, I'm a busy guy and I'm running a business. I manage a team, all this kind of stuff. I was like, you know what? Just like Doc wanted to show his audience, I was like, I'm going to show them on a channel that was completely dead in the water. Okay, even my evergreen videos, again, it had to compete against like a decade of way better creators editing amazing stuff. And I was like, but this new vlog method, for some reason, it's going to work because there's a shift on the platform. This new vlog method is so much easier because I'm vlogging just one thing. The old way, I would vlog everything. Now I'm just vlogging one thing. The old way, I'm vlogging for everybody. Now I'm just vlogging for one person. The old way, right, inevitably made you get highly produced to the point where you're editing out the fluff. That's something that Sean and I actually taught. Take away the fluff, just leave the meat, right? I was like, no, that is part of the problem, because in the era of highly produced content, the personality became novel, right? Like who you are is what people were craving. So my new vlog method, number one, getting rid of the niche of a channel. So we just have a general theme. So instead of me being this like recipe tutorial Food Network style chef, I was like, you know what? I'm just sharing my passion for food. That's the theme of my channel. Secondly, I wasn't vlogging everything. I'm vlogging a specific topic underneath the theme of my channel. And I always have a takeaway. So if you watch me and you've never, heard from me, you don't know who I am, you have no context with the type of creator I am, I know that when you watch my very topical vlog, you're going to walk away with something valuable. Okay. Third, I'm telling more stories. So these are the 3 T's of the new vlog method. And I do it in a way where I make it really simple on myself. I don't overly edit it. I live vlog. So by the way, my whole like framework for how I vlog is, the very beginning of my vlog is the beginning of my video. The next shot is the next part of my video, so on. And the very end is that. So like literally, when I go into a grocery store, the first shot you see is me in front of the grocery store. It's like, hey, today I'm going to go into this grocery store. I'm going to see what kind of like, things are on sale or whatever, and show you guys how much it costs. I go through the whole thing, and then at the very end, I'm holding the bag in my arms like, hey guys, I just bought it and this is what the price was. I'll see you later. I don't vlog me going to the laundromat. Not that I ever do. I don't go like work out afterwards. I'm just super focused on the topic, which was this grocery store. So it made it super easy. And I was able to do 30 days straight. And it's funny. I was thinking about Daniel the whole time. Like, I'm going to show him. And it didn't stop there. I kept going for like 6 months. And that challenge just grew and grew and grew. And I did it also more importantly than just to show Daniel and all those people that saw the post that it's possible. I wanted to show my students it's possible. That even me being super busy and having all the things in my life that are also priority, that I could execute in an easy way. And it's just funny because inevitably, when you upload that much, you're going to gain traction. You're going to learn how to record better. I was using the Osmo too. I got like pretty wicked with it, like in terms of like using it. It's like it's extension of my body. So I don't know exactly where you want me to go with it, but the point is this. What made YouTube so competitive and hard, the opposite became novel and new, but it's the easier stuff. And so what I realized in 2024, building on this, right? So we said 26 months. I realized the reason why these longer vlogs, by the way, are working is because people are watching content on the TV. Right? The pandemic forced us to like look for more to watch. There wasn't enough on Netflix. There wasn't enough on Hulu. And we were using the casting function from the YouTube app and we're watching longer videos. And that's what I was providing. Remember? Edit out the fluff. Highly produced content. The videos were getting shorter and shorter. What's that sound like? Inevitably, a TikTok. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the opposite because the TV is part of the equation now. And that's what led me to today. And this is after now the AI, which is going to make it even worse. Okay. Because if a video If a video is 3 or 4 minutes, but it could be a shorts at 30 seconds, it's becoming a shorts. This was crazy. A shorts at 30 seconds that you can get in 3 seconds on ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just better for a lot of other people. I'm not saying it's gonna fully replace it. I'm just saying it is a substitute. So my whole theory got even more extremely relevant. So this is why live streams to me is the next logical step. This is, by the way, it's not just because we work with Ecamm. Doc and I really believe the exact same thing. I'm telling you, the next big superstars, even bigger than Kai Cenat and iShowSpeed, are going to be these live streamers, and it's going to be like the Truman Show. I've already seen what vlogging does for a person. My wife, we live in a like little farming town north of Seattle. I rep Seattle, but I'm really from this little like strawberry town, okay? You can go do the research and find out where that is. She is one of the most famous Filipina beauty, content creators that's turned mom vlogger in the world, and we still live within a quarter-mile radius of where we grew up the last 30 years. Why is that possible? Because of YouTube, okay? Because anyone can get access to it. And what's crazy is this. I really believe the way vlogging did that for her, vlog-style live streams are going to be. You're already seeing it with Kai Cenat and iShowSpeed in real life. But it doesn't have to be like that. What's crazy about vlogs, it was like this feel in the early days, and it expanded out to all these different other niches. So long story short, it started with Daniel calling me out in an era where I was getting all motivated, wanted to pump everybody up, and I did it for 30 days. And on this journey, I'm just like realizing, man, all you got to do is live what I'm doing right now, which is just be yourself. Share whatever it is that you want to share with the world that you think would be valuable for this one person. And I can tell you there's way more than one person that'd be interested. There's probably 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, billion potentially. And the only thing stopping you is creating that content, not competing in that overly competitive world, but literally stepping outside of that and just doing the thing that nobody else thinks is valuable, yet it gets so many views.
Yeah, I mean, in that spirit of Docs 419 is what I'm going to call that. Docs 419. You kept on vlogging after those 30 days, right? You kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit, but I want to get to the power of this. Sorry, Doc, to hold us off just a little bit longer, but I promise it's going to be worth it here. Neutrally, can we pull up the first thing? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show us exactly what happened over those last 27 months on Benji's channel, because I'm guarantee you guys that we're going to get some really interesting stuff. So let's pull up the first one. The first one is a big one, which is revenue. How much did Benji make month by month on AdSense on his YouTube channel? You can see it starts really high because guess what? He's there and he's vlogging right away, posting a ton, right? It grows as he kind of gains the understanding of it. And then guess what? You slow down a little bit in terms of posting, but it actually levels out. And actually, here's what I want to show you next, which is the views that you have. So if you look at your views, it actually follows the exact same curve there, right? Starts up really high because you're posting a ton, kind of levels off, right? It kind of gets to a steady state as you find
By the way,
thing
just
that works
side
for
note,
you.
one of the reasons it's going down is just simply I'm not uploading as much.
And which is what we're going to get to in a second. The third thing related to views is the watch time. So the total watch time across his channel, you take a look at here, it spikes and then it kind of levels out, right? And then finally, the one that Benji was talking about right here is the videos published. And actually this one is much more dramatic. You can see the number of videos that he published over those first couple of months, 30, both months for 2 months in a row, and kind of tapering off slowly over time. But guess what? It's more dramatic than the other two that you saw before. So looking at those four, cycling through them, revenue goes up and flattens out. Views goes up and kind of more flattens out. Watch time goes up and actually flattens out at a higher level, which is kind of interesting. We're going to talk about that in a second. And videos published, the workload got way, 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 way less from that peak and kind of flattened out as well. Let me show you the one thing that didn't do that. So the number one statistic that I think that we talk about on this show that maybe not a lot of people talk about when they're talking about YouTube analysis is AVD. AVD stands for average view duration. And this is what Benji's average view duration across his videos were over the course of the lifetime of his channel when he was vlogging. Thank you, Neutrally, for the effect. Month over month over month here, you see the growth of Benji's average view duration. And what that means is that the people who are watching Benji's channel, the average viewer of his channel is watching his channel for longer and longer and longer. What does that mean? They're spending more and more and more time with Benji, video by video. Now, if you think back to those videos that we were looking at, or those graphs that we were looking at before, you can think about, oh, well, Benji started posting a lot and therefore his views were really high. His watch time was really high and things like that. But what has happened is that as Benji has found a steady state about what is actually fitting, fits his schedule, right? Because those 30 days were just a way for him to kind of prove, sorry, Daniel Batal wrong right there, and prove that the method worked. The average view duration, the actual amount of time that people are spending with you, was going up and up and up. And now the first thing about that is that from what I remember, part of that is because you're just making longer videos now, right?
Yep.
And part of that is going live, right? The other piece of it is because YouTube algorithm has now found those 10,000, 100,000 people beyond that really resonate with your content, that resonate with you being you, as you and Doc talked about this whole time. So the lesson here is that revenue is pretty much generally aligned with view count, watch time, but it's also aligned with the total number of videos that you publish, which is kind of interesting. But there was one that didn't belong amongst those 5 graphs, which is the average view duration. And so that, I think, describes the history of the channel. Doc, do you have any reactions to that when you see the story of Benji's channel over those months?
100%, because I mentioned it a long time ago. Time equals trust.
Yeah.
And if we had to go this to my marketing degree, we're going to call it, KL and T, right? Know, like, and trust. When I was in school, the common thought process is it takes 7 touch points for a customer to eventually buy something from you. So if you were running a small boutique shop, we're selling, Seattle streetwear, somebody going to come into the shop and touch everything about 6-7 times. The next time they come in, they're going to buy something. And my family owned a retail store, so I know this to be a fact. And my mom used to get super irritated that the people come in the store and hang out all the time and not buy nothing. I'm like, Mom, they're trying to make sure that we stay going to be here. They want to make sure that, we're all real good people and that, nothing's funny. She goes, yeah, but they just want a TV, or why can't they just buy a TV and go? I'm like, that's not how it works, especially when it comes to the high-end stereo guys. High-end stereo guys are nerdy. Like, they want to know that you know what they know, and they want to hear their music on the system and things of that nature. What happens is eventually this person who used to come to the store and hang out all the time comes in and buys, like 20 grand worth of stuff. And my mom was like, oh, you was right. And I'm like, I'm telling you, they knew that they wanted to spend money, but they weren't going to flash. They weren't going to talk about what they were going to buy. The people who buy a place where you set up a speakers and you sit in your room, you turn off the lights and you grab a whiskey and a cigar, those people are special. They need that kind of hand-holding. So by Benji showing up all the time and proving that he's not like these other creators who just want their money, proving that he's a real good person, proving that, he is somebody that I can vibe with, because, it's kind of about vibes now. I mean, you guys are always talking about it, your generation. This is that know, like, and trust factor. And I won't use bad words on your show, but we have a thing in the hood that I don't mess with people who don't mess with people I mess with, right? That's a famous saying in the hood. And so even if I get introduced to you from a different person, I got to spend some time in the cut just kind of seeing how you make moves before I give you my time. Because time is valuable. It's the one asset we cannot get, borrow, steal, get from anybody. It's all we got. That one's a one and done. And so by the work he put in, he built that loyal following. And those people are worth more than the mass numbers, right? There's definitely creators who I watch and I kind of like their content, and then they start making weird stuff or going off the deep end or just talking about things that's no longer interested. And then, I'm no longer in their interest graft. However, I notice the platform does to me every day, and I show this to my people every freaking week. Go to your page, look at how many channels are being fed to you where the subscriber has less than 1,000 subscribers or the video has less than a couple hundred views. Because now YouTube knows what you're interested in. Right now, for me, I am hard on 3D printing. It's kind of psycho and F1 because it's F1 season.
Yeah.
And I'm getting F1 explainer videos from dude who in a basement, they're just fans like me. They don't have an established F1 channel. And that's a busy hobby that requires a lot of money. So a lot of the F1 channels are people who can afford to fly around the country and in the world and go to all these different races. But there's people like me that just are nerding out from inside the house. I'm starting to see those dudes show up on my YouTube feed right now because the season starts next Saturday. Vroom,
You know,
vroom.
Doc, speaking of graphs, that average view duration graph got me thinking that I could utilize my high school math education here to tell us something
here we go.
really interesting, which is that we can get a super rough idea of what the most important factor is when it comes to maximizing revenue across the month that Benji was actually doing things. Are there any guesses amongst the three of us about what the most important factor was? I'll give them to you again. Revenue, views, that's total number of views, watch time, or the number of videos published. Any of those sound like they might be the most important?
Probably watch time.
Watch time?
I mean, I want to say how many, well, of all the data points in the last 24 plus months,
Yeah.
which one is the most important for what?
Of the, in terms of maximizing revenue. So again,
Oh,
views,
got it,
watch
got it.
time,
Oh.
videos published, or average view duration.
AVD?
Yeah. You're betting AVD?
Yes.
Let's start with views. If you take a look at this, this is my high school math education coming into play here. You see a graph where on the left side, you see the amount of revenue that Benji made in a particular month. So all of those dots represent some month. On the left side, you see the amount, right? Now, on the bottom of this one is the number of views. On the left, there's fewer views. On the right, there's more. And if you take a look, there's a line down the middle, and the line represents the trend of these things. So in general, the more views you get, the more money you make. Oh, big whoop, right? I promise you, we'll come back to this because it actually is quite interesting. Let's take a look at the next one, which is watch time, which is Doc's guess here. Watch time looks awfully similar. The more watch time you get, the more revenue you get. You see, maybe it's a little steeper than the other one, which is important as well. Let's take a look at the next one, which is the videos that you publish, the number of videos that you published. This one isn't quite as correlated, which is kind of interesting, right? So you'd think that the more you publish, the more you make, which is generally true, but it's a little bit more all over the place.
Yeah.
The very last one that we're going to look at here is average view duration, which is Benji's. Benji's here, it shows you that it's very similar. It's actually a slightly negative one where it's actually going down over time. But again, like the other ones, this one is the least correlated amongst all of them. Now, what I did is I took a look at all of them and I said, which one is the best predictor of how much revenue you're going to make? And I'm so sorry. I was a high school math teacher, so I have to give you a little bit of high school math here. If we can go to the very last image, usually G16, it'll show you a specific number there that shows you how correlated. So look along the right side. You see something called an R squared value, right? So for views, the R squared value is 0.7. For watch time, the R squared value is 0.9. For AVD, the R squared is 0.2, videos published, 0.4, and then I have a last one there, which I'll talk about later, which is 0.4 as well. Of all of them, the best predictor of revenue was exactly as Doc predicted, which is watch time at 0.9. Usually, can we bring up that watch time graph again?
Yeah, well, that makes sense because that's more, just more like video being watched.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. It's very simple, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
more video you watch, the more that you see ads, the more money that you
Yeah,
make,
yeah.
right? By the way, that might be a foreign concept to some creators out there, right? That's not necessarily true on all platforms, right? And so you can see here that slope is pretty steep. The more you go, the more you get people to actually watch your videos, the higher your revenue is. And for me, I think that it's really telling because a lot of times when we as creators are making these videos, one of the things that we really optimize for is the metric that we see the most, right? Which in a lot of cases is the number of views that we're getting. People are always talking about how to maximize your views. How do you get more people to watch your content? How do you get people to click through on your thumbnail? People don't always talk about how you get people to watch and continue watching, right? And for you, Benji, as the months went on, you actually started to decrease the number of views you were getting. You started to decrease the amount you were posting. But because people were watching you for longer, you actually were ending up making a pretty steady amount of money over that period of time.
Because the view is a false number.
Because the view is a false number. And guess what? That's counted differently all over the place.
Right? So I pressed the video to go watch it, and then you called me, and it was like, yo, Unc, I got a question about XYZ. That video is playing, but I'm talking to Austin for 10 minutes. And that video goes, whatever, and maybe I switched to something else because I needed to show you, like, oh, try this one is better. if it plays for more than, what is it, Benji, like 17 seconds, or actually it's less than that now. I think it's like 8 or 9 seconds. That counts as a view. That's not an actual watch.
Which, by the way, is a better metric, or better, like, it's more representative of a true view though than other platforms.
Yeah, something like a short form platform where
You
just
can't
any
even
view.
get to 17 seconds on the average view duration there.
Right. And you know what you always send me though, right? At the end, you're like, hey, check out the live stream. Look at the you know, how much
ABD?
people's watching for how long. Like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's more real. They're hanging out with you. They're learning from you. You're building that community. And this is talking about platform as far as where YouTube is paying you as far as AdSense. AdSense fluctuates. It's just one of those type of things. Like right now, season is terrible because it's almost tax time.
Can I do a short rant? Oh, go ahead.
However, because of your know, like, and trust, if you were to drop a cookbook now, that revenue that comes from the long graph of know, like, and trust people, they're in like Flint. You know, Quinn, Snazzy Labs, he's a Mac creator. He just created these cleaning cloths. And, you know, no other way than to support the creator than to buy his $12 cleaning cloth. So I bought it, you know, just to give him a thanks because he's a cool cat. You know what I mean? But how come I was willing to, without even seeing it, just buy what he put out? Because I have watched, you know, like Benji, I've watched, you know, maybe 40, 50 plus of his videos end to end. You know, like title to title, a title to buy. I was going to say mahalo because that's the end of my video. But, you know, and so you built that relationship with this person. It's like, yo, Quinn, if I could buy you dinner, I would buy you dinner. But you far away, so I'll just buy a cleaning cloth instead.
Know, like, and trust. Benji,
Know, like, and trust.
any closing thoughts for us here?
So I try not to flex about myself, but 100%.
You say that, he put his arms in the front. You saw that? I try not to flex.
But I will show off what my wife does. One of the reasons I uploaded less is because, well, number one, I didn't want to become this new age vlogger, right? I did it because of Daniel Patel. I'm so grateful for it because now I vlog on a channel that I basically like retired, okay? I was never going to create content, and now I'm doing it just for fun, by the way. Like Alysa Liu. I'm doing it and I'm just enjoying the process. So at any given time, if I have a good idea, I can just make it happen. But the thing that we've always been consistent on is my wife's channel. It's Judy's Life, okay? You want to know what happened to that channel after this new vlog method? Number one, my wife actually listened to me, okay, when it comes to YouTube. She never needed to listen to me because she's like the queen. She already knows what she's doing. What do I have to offer? But she was vlogging the old way in a new era. And that's what she's like, wow, if it works for you, let me give it a try. And she does laps around me. Now, to be fair, we vlog together. This is a family vlog channel. It's really less of the kids. It's more about my wife and I as a married couple, as parents, okay? Judy doesn't like to share the numbers on that channel or talk too much about it. Let me just tell you, in some cases, it 4x'd our revenue. AVD went way up. Watch time, crazy. So I agree now. Like, I totally realized, like, well, I don't know why I said AVD versus watch time, because she's now vlogging the new way. And this is what's crazy. She tells me it's easier to edit. And she's edited 5,000 vlogs, okay? If there's somebody that knows about vlogging, editing vlogs, that's her. It's easier for her to vlog, right? We're not vlogging more. That's what's crazy. We're vlogging actually less, okay? AVD is way up, the average view duration. Revenue is up. And then when we had the vlogging channel last year, right? She vlogged 30 days in a row. The analytics were ridiculous. It wasn't even logical what happened to her channel. It was like, you know, like I talk about how one of my favorite movies is Maverick Top Gun, and Tom Cruise comes in as a coach, like, let me show these cats how it's done, right? And then like he passes the test with flying colors. I felt like I was kind of doing that with Daniel Batal, but no, I was just a tiny little vlogger. My wife comes in with the B-20 bomber, and like it's just skyrocketing everything I was doing for myself and teaching other vloggers. Why do I share that story? This works for everybody. This works for even the person that can do it the old way and can edit amazing stuff. And it's crazy. And so going back to like more basics, you just have to simplify the process. And more simple content can win if you understand in this new era what viewers want. You're not going to compete against Netflix and Hulu and the movies and the shows, the HBO specials. You're not going to compete against the Logan Pauls or the creators that have like these super edited piece of content or Mr. Beast. There's this like new lane that like people doing selfie videos in their cars are getting 100,000 views. Sam Solik is the most popular. One of the reasons I do grocery store vlogs is because this guy named Sam Solik, who's not even into food, he's like a bodybuilder, went into the grocery store and straight filmed himself for 45 minutes, and that video got 1 million views. It's his #1 viewed video. By the way, it's like 4 to 5 million views, okay? And that was a moment I was like, old school YouTube is working, but it's working if you're just like more casual and you make a longer video. This is a new era that we're in. And even if things are scary, I'm telling you, this stuff works. It worked for me. It worked for my wife. It works for students of mine. And live streaming, I really believe, is like the next evolution of it.
Doc, how about you? Any last things to say before we bounce here?
I just think that the most important thing is to understand is that all of this stuff sort of works in seasons. And it's kind of like a ebb and flow situation. So like Benji said, right now, he's 100% right. I mean, dude, Instagram just moved their reel capability back in January up to 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
When the man
Like,
is
wait,
telling,
like pre-recorded, pre-edited, upload A-reels?
uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't
So
know.
when the
Wow.
man is telling you to go longer because people are looking for a deeper human, you know what an AI can't make? A 20-minute video right now. That's way too much work. You know what I mean? And you run out of credits before you get to like minute 6. So when Benji tell you go make longer form content, connect with people, just be normal, don't over edit, just get out there and do that thing. He's telling you the truth, bro. Like it really is just go do that thing. So if you were to just take your phone while you're shooting the live stream, if you know that you can make a dish in say 20 minutes and you put the phone over there and linked it up and had it facing you just looking at that single shot while you're making it and post that as a reel later to tell them to don't miss the live stream next time, things just ain't the same for gangsters. I'm telling you, when the platforms are telling you what they want, pay attention. They are never wrong.
Doc,
And everyone's out here listening to gurus telling them to do this and do that. I'm like, every Tuesday, YouTube comes on and Renee, Johanna, Laura, or somebody from the Creative Secrets team will tell you exactly what they want. Once a month on a Friday, Adam will sit down and be like, hey, I want you to all start using edits. And no one's like, I'm going to go listen to this weird person tell me what to do. I'm like, the platforms are telling you what they want, bro. Half the time, the reason why you stay married so long, wife told you exactly what she wanted and what she needed, and you listen to her, and you're good. And the people that don't, they single. It's so simple.
That's a
true.
great
Simple.
example. I actually want to correct you though. There's even better way than popping out your phone. Use Ecamm Live because today
Yeah, well, that
we
too.
stream on YouTube. We're going. Okay, I really mean this, creators. I did something today that this wasn't possible, and it wasn't a good practice, but I actually think it's a beginning of one of the biggest opportunities. What made TikTok special more than the fact that people want to watch those is the fact that you could upload that TikTok to YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, literally all the platforms we're doing short form, including X, formerly known as Twitter, and LinkedIn, okay? My live stream today went horizontal on YouTube, went vertical, like clean vertical on the YouTube Shorts feed, was vertical on the Instagram feed, was horizontal on the Instagram feed on desktop computers or laptops, and was horizontally broadcasting to Facebook, all with one session of cooking, okay? And I'm telling you, we're already seeing the stats right now, and this is the first day I'm doing. I am going to start doing this all the time, and I'm seeing data right now that's proving exactly what Doc said. And the final takeaway is this: and Doc already knows this, but it's going to be reaffirmed at my next event. Right? This is an exclusive event for creators. It's invite only, but I'm just going to tell you the quick kind of theme and takeaway for it. Going long is not just on YouTube anymore. because these other platforms know they need to do it to be relevant, to like compete against the stealing that YouTube's doing of all their viewers, right? They're getting literally like, they're just like sick of brain rot and AI slop. So they go to YouTube and watch the longer versions of whatever they're interested in. Instagram just uploaded it, or like 20 minutes. If you do a live stream, that can turn into Reels, by the way. That was an hour-long live stream. That is a Reels now on my page.
That's now going to be a Reel. Yep.
TikTok has been continually getting longer and longer and longer. And they have apps for the TV. That's, again, what Doc is saying is true. That's telling you. That's like a huge sign. Like, we want longer content, because they're desperate for that viewership, because YouTube dominated. So my theme of my event is longer on all platforms. I was focused on YouTube last year. This year, I'm actually focused on all platforms for longer live streams. And you got to think longer as a creator when it comes to your brand deals. That's all I'll say.
With that, I think that it's a great time to thank Doc for coming on the show. And of course, thank our sponsor, Ecamm Live, for the powerful live streaming platform that they've provided us on Mac. You can learn more about Ecamm Live in the link in the show notes, and you get 15% off and support our show with the code BenjiTV15. As always, thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week.